It's Friday, July 5th, 2024. Let's start off, as we always do, with our promotional segment, which is to say, if you'd like to support our show, it's very easy. You can just go to supportourshow.com, and all of your options will be laid out in front of you. The only thing missing, although I'm starting to suspect maybe this code doesn't work, because I got an email, something came up asking if you wanted to be part of the affiliate program, which I think is for this code. So either they, but it may have just been a generic thing that anytime you log in, it alerts you in case you didn't know. So I'm not sure the code still works. I may just email somebody there because they are pretty quick to get back to me. But so the code Ozone might still give you 2 months free on Libsyn. It might not. I should have a more definitive answer on the next show, because I'm just going to shoot an email and say, hey, does this code still work, or is this something I'm supposed to be reminding you about every year or something? Because, I don't know, like I said, the little pop-up could have just been a generic, oh, you've logged in, here's news in case you missed it. I don't know. So, it's the only thing I don't really know, but it's not on our donation page anyway, so I don't really care. It's just something to be aware of. So, that's it. Promotional segment's over.
Hey.
I did want to mention something, though, because I think this will appeal to you specifically.
Yes.
Because, you know, you've talked about your efforts to get away from plastic. And
yes. Yeah, and it's popping up a lot more in the news, you've noticed.
Oh, it is. It is. Well, yeah. Look, I mean, as I think we said in that episode, none of this is a surprise. I remember at least a decade ago, and probably more, I remember at one point, my mother of all people calling me at one point and saying, hey, don't microwave anything in plastic.
Oh, yeah.
Use glass because it leaches in there. And it's like, okay, well, if that's happening, and don't leave plastic like water bottles in the heat.
Oh, in the car,
sunlight can hit. Yeah, because it starts to leach out. So again, this is not
No,
uncommon, but I think
honestly,
you're right. Now there's a lot more scientific research and there's more evidence coming out.
I think something's going to happen now, because honestly, all I keep seeing is articles about how it settles in the testicles.
Well,
and the thing is, that's the way to get men to do You're like, what? My nuts? My testes?
Balls are going to fall off. Wait a minute.
Fuck
this
that.
ain't right. So I've been endeavoring to the same basic idea as you, which is okay. Let's try to get away from plastic and that type of thing. Which I really tried to do it with my iPad case and failed miserably twice.
Oh, did you not get the leather one from Andor?
I did. They do not fit. They did not fit twice. And I mean, to the point where I sent them a video and photos. I said, look.
Yeah.
And they said, wow, yeah, why it doesn't fit. And I said, okay.
It's a shame because I have their iPad, I have their laptop case, and I have their phone case. And both of those have been really good.
Yeah, unfortunately, the ones that I'm finding that are leather, a lot of them are using the magnet, and I don't like that. I don't want it to be a magnet. I want it to be a case that grips it. I don't trust magnets. I don't care.
The Andors, they do grip if you can get the right size.
Yes, and unfortunately,
I meant to ask you
they
about
tried.
that.
They tried.
Yeah.
They sent me another one.
They're good people.
They are. They're very easy to work with. It's just unfortunate it didn't work out. However, what probably will work out. I don't think it'll be the same type of problem with this, because I haven't read any of it. Because I've read people with the Andor thing, and there were other people who said the same thing, because they seem to be bespoke cases in a very specific way, sometimes they just don't fit. And, somebody had said in, I think, a Reddit post, they sent 10 cases to this person.
Wow.
And not one of them would fit. And they said the same thing as me, is that there was one corner never quite went in, and they didn't trust it. You can't have a case that you don't trust. It's just simple.
So to counterbalance that, I got one case for my laptop and I got one for my phone, and I never had any problems.
Well, I don't want to do leather on the laptop for thermal reasons. I just don't. I don't like that idea. So I want that. That's I'm fine leaving as a lightweight plastic. That's okay. I have to make exceptions where
honestly,
it makes sense. I just don't trust it.
Listen, the it's good that you're thinking about it, but the best place to start when it comes to avoiding plastics is your body.
Well, sure.
The stuff that you put on your body. That's especially like start with your underwear. Like that's the main thing, because the microplastics that get into your body, and honestly, just talking about it makes me feel like I'm like a tin hat
skitchy
person.
Yeah.
It is, but like I've read so much of the science about this.
No, I don't
the
think
journal
it's tin hat stuff. I think
is,
it's like anything else. If somebody tells you you are destroying yourself, you must change now. It's like, okay, don't do that.
No.
This is the places you want to improve.
Where it is most dangerous is when you sweat and in the hormone centers of your body, right? So,
sure.
If you wear a lot of like I used to wear a ton of Under Armour, which is all polypropylene, it's all plastic, right? I loved Under Armour. I love stretchy shit. That's just the reality of it. Because I'm a weightlifter and I've got odd dimensions, I love stretchy shit. It makes life a lot easier. But when you sweat, that's when your pores open up the most, and that's when the we'll call it the juices of your body start to break down plastics, and it causes them to shed these microplastics. And the microplastics, this is the stuff that's so tiny that it can actually penetrate cell walls. So you got this stuff rubbing up against you, all this sweat breaking it down, your pores are open because they're breathing, because you're active, and that's when you suck in the most amount of shit. So fitness stuff, that's really bad. And then otherwise, your hormone centers, so essentially your groin and your chest. So it's worse for women because a lot of bras. It's very hard to find cotton bras. My wife had a big time with this, trying to find cotton bras that she actually didn't hate. But with men, it's like, just natural fibers, because that's the hormone center of your body. And if microplastics get in, microplastics are hormone disruptors. Now, it's not going to mean that much for you and me, but for young people, it can be it can change things over time quite a bit.
Sure.
So it's those are the two areas to kind of think about. But otherwise, it's like, it's we live in a plastic world. So if you can subtly try to downsize, it's like I knew I wasn't going to get 100% cotton anything, because there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't work for how I do. So I told my wife, I was like, my number is 80%. I want at least 80% cotton, and like with like underwears and shirts, I try to find 100%. But like, workout shorts and stuff like that, dude, it's just really hard to find shit that stretches, and where I can, and it's funny, I got leather pants again. After I read all this shit, I stopped wearing leather pants years ago, and but I always loved them. And now with all this shit going on, I'm like, you know what? I'm going back to leather. That's fine. I can't work out in it because that would be weird. Even though Lenny Kravitz works out in leather sometimes.
I ain't going no leather pants when it's going to be 118. So.
Well, I know you're in a different situation, but it's just like,
Oh, don't worry, you'll get there. We'll all get there eventually.
Hey, we're just now coming out of this heat wave that we had.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
we're all gonna,
honestly,
be walled enclaves, or the rich will, and the rest of us will fry.
Yeah, I know. The reason I stopped wearing leather was because of the heat. When I was younger, though, and I was more punk rock, I wore leather constantly. I wore leather. I think I told you this. I wore leather to the opening of Blade when I was traveling through Hawaii, and I remember I went to the opening of it there, and I was like, there's all these like goths and stuff like that, and I was like the only person in leather pants.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, that's because you're broken, man. That's why. I was like, it's so hot. But I just like leather. I just like the way it feels. So I'm going back to leather in that respect. But yeah, You just do what you can. I mean, I talked to my mother about this the other day. We were talking about, how much the world has changed since she was young. And my mindset was just be aware of your poison. And if you know what your poison is, then accept it. And accept the outcome. Listen, I don't think it's worth dying of old age. I don't think it's worth it. I think that with the way the world is going and the medical system and all this stuff, I think that you're better off dying before you get there. So try to be healthy, try to live well, but accept the fact that you've got your poison. And here's the thing: if you just find that plastic clothing brings too much joy to your life, then you know what? Accept it. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody that they have to do anything anymore. Like, you have the right to leave this world if you so desire. You have the right to live the way you want as long as it doesn't hurt others. And also know that hurting yourself can hurt others if they care for you. That's something to take into account. But otherwise, you know what? You try to be healthy, but, some people will never give up smoking. Some people will never give up, cocaine. Some people will never give up their coffee. Right. Some people will never give up their plastics. You don't need to. Just try to be healthy, and if you're not going to be healthy, then just accept it. I don't know if old age is I just don't think dying of old age is worth it anymore.
Oh. Yeah.
Well,
the other end of it, on top of the health thing, was, I also was thinking about the fact that it's not very environmentally.
No, because so basically what happens now is the plastic bags. It's the plastic bags that are really bad because they get in the ocean, and the salt water starts to break them down, but it takes forever. So they turn into those tiny little microplastics as they slowly break down.
Sure.
And that shit's gotten so bad that if you live by the ocean, you are getting sprayed by microplastics now on a regular basis, and the microplastics are getting sucked up into the cloud systems. They found They found microplastics in the snow on top of Mount Fuji.
I'm not surprised.
And it's like, if this shit is small enough to penetrate the cell walls,
it's going to get everywhere.
It's going to take a ride.
Yeah, it is.
This is our lead. This is our asbestos. This is our legacy to the future.
Beautiful, isn't it?
We didn't know any better.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
knowing really matters.
Hold on. I'm sure someone's figured it out at some point. It was like, we're making too much money, man. Let's just keep going. But yeah, I mean, we kind of reap what we sow, don't we? I mean, we like convenience. We kill ourselves with convenience. You know, you make things easy and people are like, oh, this is easy. And then you go, oh, you know what? If we made things less easy, it'd be more environmentally sound. And people are like, yeah, but I like my easy.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, accept, as long as you're willing to accept the repercussions, then by all means.
Right.
I think that's what it comes down to. Accept the repercussions, and then we're cool. Yeah. Don't complain about the weather. Right? And then go on about how great your plastics are. They come together. There's a correlation, Just know what bullshit you're talking about, So you were saying?
No, it's fine. And looking around,
for
that combination reason, I came across and you may already know of this site, a site called Carved. Have you ever seen these things?
Yes, I know Carved. Yeah.
I bought one of their cases. I found one I really liked.
I had one of their cases.
Yeah.
Did you get it? Did you get the live wood one or?
The better one, the one that's got the resin for the sides or whatever. With the metal buttons. Yeah.
So I've had 2 of those in the past, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that might get you.
Yeah.
The first one I ever got from them, it fit really well, but there was like just a micrometer of space. So when I could almost if I turned my phone really quick, I could feel it just kind of shift very slightly in the case. Yeah. Just a tiny. It wasn't going to fall out. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I could feel it just slide the every bit. Second one I got was perfect, and I had that one for a while.
Okay.
That was perfect. The only other problem I have with them is that they will only survive one fall, one serious fall. Not
sure there would. I mean, I get that.
Yeah. Not like I dropped it out of my pocket on the carpet, but one serious fall.
Yeah.
They will usually break, but they will protect your phone.
Right.
I've never had a carve not protect my phone. My wife still uses them. Like, she likes them quite a bit. But they're what do you call it? They're travel cases, though. I really like the travel cases because they have some really neat backs on those. I mean, honestly,
Sure.
They're all beautiful.
Oh, they're
gorgeous.
They are. I found a really nice black and white one.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and they do giveaway. They make these little towers.
Those monolith things. Yeah, I remember those.
They don't sell them. They only do giveaways of them.
No, I like that though.
Like,
I think that's great.
Oh no, it is great. But yeah, and they do pocket knives as well. Have you seen those?
Yes, I've looked at those. They have the Cosmos ones that glow in the dark, which I've kind of
those are really
very
pretty.
hard at.
So yes, I've heard of carved. I love them. I've field tested the shit out of them. I don't have one right now, only because they aren't cheap, and
No, they're not cheap. That's true.
And I like them, but I've owned two, and I killed the last one.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I will keep my old case in case I were to break it.
Yeah, like the reason I really stopped after I broke the last one was because I realized that I was keeping two cases. So like whenever I went kayaking or whenever I did like kind of like more active shit, I would switch my case. And then after a while I was like, you know what, I'm tired of switching my case. I'll just put now I have like an electric red leather case on my phone, and I'm totally happy with that because I love leather. So yeah. But no, carved, they're awesome. I do like them quite a bit. Yeah. And how did you decide? Because I was looking at that when I got my first case from them, the live edge cases, that's what they call them. I must have been looking for like a month just watching them come through, and I had the hardest time deciding on one.
Well, that was because I've been looking at them for a while, and I've seen some reviews, read some reviews because I was kind of curious. There was some people who had noted that at one point, but I don't think this is the case anymore. And I really looked at their case compared to the one I have now. It looks very similar. That for some people their charging cable wouldn't fit, but I don't think that's a problem because mine is a very.
I never had
cable.
that.
Yeah,
wait, are you doing this on an iPhone or are you doing this on an Android?
No, on my Pixel. No, it's Pixel.
Oh, a Pixel. Okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I mean, like most of. Well, no, it's all the same. It's the same thing. It's a USB-C. So it's the same thing. So I looked around at that, and I've been looking at the color ones for a while. And, look, these are, for those who don't know, these are made out of burls of wood. So you're not going to get, it's not going to be a uniform thing.
Yeah, so what they do is they get wood and they get resin and they get the dyes and they put it all in a bucket and they make they let it like dry, and you get these really incredible sort of like, they almost look like photos of the cosmos.
Yeah, they're really neat. Yeah.
They take the block and they basically cut it into pieces, and then some of them they use as like little slices that they put on rubber cases, which you can get, and then some of them they build an entire case out of, and they literally just carve it out.
Yeah.
And you have this case that is perfectly 99% of the time fitted to your phone, and they're beautiful. They are absolutely beautiful. And I remember when I killed my last phone and I switched to like the newer one. I was really the thing I was most bummed about.
You lost the pattern.
Was losing. Yeah, it was not. Yeah. I almost bought the same model just to keep my case because it was so beautiful. But my wife still had that model, so I just gave it to her, and she loves them. But yeah, they're stunning, and no two are alike. They're all slightly different. So it really is this thing of how do you choose? And like,
well, and that was my problem for a while, is I was looking for ones with red, and I just kept thinking, oh, the next one will be the one. The next one will be the one.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I finally got to a point where I realized, I went, you know what? I think that it's never going to be how I think it's going to be for the color. So what I think, instead of going for red.
How much wood did you go for? Because there's ones that have a lot of wood. And
I did that. I know. I did the one that has the most of the wood and the resin, or whatever you want to call it. So it's, the
well,
live
I mean,
edge.
is like,
I think it's called
no,
live
I know. Is what I'm saying is, of the live edge cases, right?
Yeah.
There's ones that you can get that are like mostly wood, and there's ones that are like 50-50 resin wood, and there's ones that are like the combination is never the same across the different live edge cases.
Well, they didn't specify percentages. But
no. When you look at it, when you look at them.
Well, as far as I can tell, it's all wood.
Oh, did you get an all wood one? Okay.
I think so. I mean, the thing is, I can't tell
Okay.
Because what I ultimately decided to do, and I think this might be a factor in it, is I went with black and white. I decided I was going to get a black and white case, and so I think that there's no coloring, so I don't think they have to worry about that as much as just it's like bleached wood, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Look at these.
Okay.
I want to see. Where is it? Does it give you an indication? How would you know?
No, it doesn't. There's no percentages when you look at when you go to the Carve site and you look at the live edge cases. Oh, hold on, I need to get there.
Yeah, because mine isn't there anymore because I bought it. So it's gone.
So when you look at the live edge cases, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at them, and essentially you can see what's resin and you can see what's wood, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
can you? How do you know?
So, all the stuff that's brightly colored that looks like shiny toothpaste or sparkly, that's resin.
Okay. Okay. So go to the black and white ones.
All right, hold on. Black and white. The pure black or the black and white?
No, black and white. Black and white.
Okay, so the black and white. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So what color was the
brings up?
What color was the wood?
I'm looking at the iPhone 15 Pro page. So pick a name out of there, and then we'll know. Look at Caitlin. Look at Caitlin. See Caitlin?
Hold on.
Second row.
You're looking at the iPhone 15 Pro.
Pro, and I clicked on black and white to filter.
Okay, hold on.
The second row is got one called
to where
Caitlin.
You are. Okay, so this is in the black and white section. Hold on, I gotta get there because they got a lot of interesting shit now. Okay.
Oh, you know what? I could probably send you it.
No, hold on. Caitlin, last one, right?
All right. So,
okay.
Well, for me, it's the second row, but whatever. Sure, Caitlin.
See all the dark brown stuff on the right side?
Yeah.
That's all wood.
And so the rest is resin.
See all the white with the gold and the brown that swirls around? That's all resin.
Well, then mine's all resin.
Oh, you got it all.
or nearly all, which is fine with me because I like the swirls way better than the wood. So
yeah, I find I like the swirls a lot, and
that's the thing. Yeah.
But I found that I had one that had like a really nice. It had like wood just around the edge on the one side, like where you hold it. But then the whole center of it was resin. Oh, it's really cool, and it was like red with gold. I mean, it looked like a piñata exploded in space.
Well, that Caitlin one, the swirly bits, that's basically the whole case. That's why I liked it.
The cases that do it for me now, I love the pattern ones that have all the hexagons and the. Have you seen those?
Oh yeah, the patterns. Yeah.
I love the the pattern ones, but they don't really do the pattern ones on the live edge anymore. They used to do that. Now they don't really do it anymore. But yes, that's.
Oh no, they have a section that says pattern. They do have it
in the live edge.
Yeah, or live edge. Hold on, let me look. I didn't look at live edge.
I was looking at the
live edge.
Oh, they do. Oh, look at that. That's really cool. They're doing dots now. That's awesome.
Yeah, so they got
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, there's if you go to the i50, was it the iPhone 15 Pro Max wood resin, the live edge cases, right? Go to the bottom row, and there's a case named Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, let's see.
Yeah, it's like red and blue with like hexagons on it.
You said go to pattern?
The iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Oh, yeah, I'm in the wrong section. Sorry. Hold on.
They got a lot of
live
shit,
edge, iPhone 50 Pro Max. I'm there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you go down to the bottom row where it says Jacqueline on the right.
Jacqueline.
JACQ.
Not Jackie, Jacqueline.
Jacqueline.
JACQ. And this is in pattern?
This is in pattern, yeah.
All right, let me switch to pattern. All right, hold on. Oh yeah, that's a neat one.
And you see like the hexagons,
nice.
but then it's got
it's got a lot of red, nice purple, and
I love shit like that. That's very busy, very like all over the place. Yeah, I dig this company. Have you seen they put that pattern work on the wireless chargers.
Oh yes, I did see those.
Yeah. And my wife has a few of those like kind of randomly around the house. So like we still have those, and those are gorgeous. Except the fact that people keep thinking that they're coasters.
Oh, yeah, that would be a problem.
But yeah, I love Carve. Carve is fantastic.
Yeah.
You have to let me know. You have to let me know how happy you are when you get it, because like I said, sometimes those live edge cases are perfect, and sometimes there's just a tiny little bit. And if there is any wiggle room, I read somewhere you can put just the slightest little piece of like felt or something in there, and it makes it totally work.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd almost just take like plumbing tape or something and just put it.
Yeah.
Seal it. Yeah.
No, I love these art cases. I love the idea of making mundane, everyday objects into some kind of fascinating art.
Well, and that's the thing that I like, is that they're taking wood and they're not making something that's going to sit in the landfill and for 1,000 years. It's wood. You could probably burn it to recycle.
Well, the
it or
resin.
whatever.
Listen, the resin will be around for a while, but the wood won't.
Yeah, but the resin's not toxic. I don't think. It comes from wood, doesn't it? Is it wood resin?
The resin
Yeah.
can be toxic. Like you can get food level resin, but yeah, resin is usually a mixture of some level of. I don't want. I didn't want to ruin your.
Well, no, it doesn't ruin anything. I'm pretty sure it's not worse than plastic.
No, it's not. It's not worse than plastic.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's why when I was looking at cases, I always tried to get the ones that had a lot of wood kind of around the edges where I was grabbing it. But no, but I love the idea of turning everyday objects into art, because these are the things that we're forced to see on a regular basis, and you can live a very sort of boring life, or you can make all the little things fun.
Right.
Yeah. And I found myself staring at my phone when I got my calves tattooed, right? And I was in utter agony because it is the worst place to get tattooed. I don't care what anybody else says. Granted, I've never tattooed things like, my tongue or my balls or something like that. But of the conventional body parts, I think the calves are the worst. And I remember being on the table, laying there kind of laying on my arms, looking straight down at the table. And I had my phone on the bench with me because I needed to respond if my wife or my kids texted me. And I was just staring at the back of my phone case, which was one of these Live Edge ones. And I was just staring into that swirl of color, going into like a deep breathing pain meditation. And I just remember staring at them. And they are. I can get lost in the colors.
One of the guys that works there made a desk out of it. That's
oh my God, it's beautiful.
That's a nice looking desk.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever looked at the wood resin tables you can get?
No, because honestly, I don't know that we'd ever actually get one, but I mean they're neat looking. So no, I've never really looked.
When we moved, I got a Uplift desk, right? And for a short period of time, Uplift was doing a wood resin desktop. So that's what I have as my main desk.
Sure.
It's just like a pale wood, but then down the center of the table, there's like a blue, swirly blue, like resin river.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love stuff like that. It makes life more enjoyable.
Oh, so, yeah, this is interesting. So based on, so that might actually be more wood than it looks like. I'm watching one of the videos of how they make this, and they put the resin over it, but it's a really thin layer, so it might be more resin. It might be more wood than resin. That's interesting.
When you get your case and you look inside, it could be all wood for all you know, because it's like you've got so many layers of stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're so cool, and honestly, they are. I had to stop looking at the site after I got one.
Yeah, because the temptation is just to keep getting them and switching them, right?
Yeah, because
and that's
they're so beautiful.
Partially why I went with the monotone, because that way I don't have that impulse. I truly do love black and white, so if I get black and white, it will match anything.
Yeah.
Whereas if I got red, because I change. I think I've said this before. Every month, I change everything of my phone's interface, all of it. I changed the lock screen to a certain color. It has to match the home screen's color. All the icons get reskinned to a unified color. The drawer has to be colored. The notification bubbles, everything has to be unified. It all has to be unified colors. And it has to change. It has to be related to the month.
No, man, I think.
Did I never talk about this?
No, I didn't know that. I mean, listen.
Oh yeah.
I'm not surprised at all. In fact, it makes total sense. I just didn't know you were doing it.
Oh yeah, no, it's. I spend probably a couple hours every month on it. I actually have photos. I take photos sometimes of it, so I can.
No. Like I said, it doesn't surprise me. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That's, and you know what? And honestly, when I was younger, I think I probably did stuff like that as well. Now, I just switch my I just switch the wallpaper on my phone to correspond to whatever philosophical quandary I'm trying to remember. Because there is no screen you look at as much as your lock screen on your fucking phone.
It's true. I mean, that is true.
Yeah, so I try to use it to remind myself of mantras to, shift my thinking.
Yeah, I just sent you this month,
Oh,
which is
see.
suitably because it's the beginning of summer.
Where did
I
you
just
send it to?
texted it. I just texted it.
Oh,
to
you
you.
texted. All right.
So that's because it's now June, which means it's heating up. It's not hot yet. It's going to be. July is going to be probably nuclear orange because you know,
I love your icon. What is this on a?
it's a
on a
Pixel,
Pixel?
so it's Android.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can redo everything. That's
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
But you notice, I mean, I even have to have it where the four corners, they can't be different shapes, so they're all circles.
Oh my God, you're hilarious.
Because one of them was a square. Yeah, I know I can't do that.
No. It's not surprising. Like I said,
Yeah.
I just didn't know you were doing it, but it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Well,
You know?
and it makes it where because I look at it a lot, and it's like, okay, that's
Well, it is
from being. You know.
It is your phone is the device you encounter most in your day, so it might as well
Right.
be something that you find pleasing.
Yeah,
And you have integrated it into your artistic design. That's great.
And now, because I have a smartwatch with a color screen, I have to have
no.
whatever color I'm wearing for work. My shirt, I have to match the watch screen has to match the color, and my Enso ring has to match the color. So I have a box of Enso rings now because I have to have a spectrum of colors.
We're so lucky that we're not lords and ladies.
Boy,
Could you imagine that?
Oh,
Like,
well,
if
I were a
to-
lord, I would probably have the wealth to be able to have somebody dress me in a uniform way.
No, but you wouldn't. No, that's the thing. You wouldn't, because they would never match it as well as you.
Well, I would order them to get the things.
Oh, of
that,
course.
you know,
Yes,
I
you'd
would have
order
a
them
personal,
to do the work.
Personal
Yeah.
chaper.
But you would still do it, is what I mean. You
Oh,
know,
of course I would. Of course, no one's going to.
There's a ball. We have to
Yeah.
get to all the, this
Yeah.
specific color. Everything has to
Oh,
match,
yeah. Yeah. And that's why I'm very happy that my default for everything is black and white, because then if color fails me, I just revert back to black and white, and it's fine because it goes with everything.
If I could only wear two colors the rest of my life, if everything in my life had to be two colors, I would probably go black and red. Yeah.
I'd probably do white and red, the NASA colors. I really like NASA. The NASA, that NASA red and white is very good. But
I know,
black
but
and red's fine too.
But would you would you only wear white and red for the rest of your life?
Sure, but it would be. But what it would be
think
is
I could do
dominant
that.
red with white accents. It would not
there
be
you go.
mostly
Yeah.
white, because that would look ridiculous on a heavier person. It's just. I'm sorry. It does not. In my opinion, a person of my frame should not wear all white.
No, I totally get it. There are things in my life that I would love to wear that just do not work for someone who is built like me. I love the Freddie Mercury jacket, that yellow jacket he has.
Sure.
I can never wear it. I'm just not. That is a jacket that a slim person must wear.
Right.
You know, I do that for myself. Like, that's something like I know that I won't look good in that because I am, but there are things that look great on me.
Sure.
Because I'm built like the Heavy. I'm a mini version of the Heavy.
Yeah.
From Team Fortress. So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change subjects on you,
Sure.
but I wanted to share this with you because I thought you might find it
What?
interesting.
You want to talk about colors for another 30 minutes?
No. Listen, I could, and that's the problem.
So could I. That's
Listen,
yeah, you're right.
that's
That is a problem.
That's the reason that we're still here. Is because if you want to talk about color and design for the next half hour, I can't do that. I'm fine with it.
I recently, as an indicator of your and I mindset on things, I recommended to somebody. I said a pair of movie recommendations, and one of them was sneakers. And I said, you've probably, and this is somebody who's into tech. And I said, I'm 85 to 90% sure you've already seen this, but I have that same trap. I think a lot of us do, where I just assume just because I think it's an automatic movie, everybody thinks it's automatic.
Had they not seen it?
No. And the person came back, and my two top recommendations were, I said sneakers and Yes, Madam. And this person came back and said, I haven't seen either. Which would you recommend? And I struggled with that for about 20 minutes.
Because they're two completely different movies.
And
it's the kind of night you want to have.
And what my answer was it's not a question of quality, it's a question of mood. Sneakers is essentially 90s tech Cold War espionage story. I'm like, that's, and it's for you're coming into that for the ensemble cast. I'm like, it's just it's home runs across the board in terms of the main cast. You can't lose. I said, plus the soundtrack is dynamite. You'll buy it after you watch it. I said, however, if you want to see action and two women in their absolute physical prime doing top end martial arts work, then Yes, Madam's what you want. that's what. So I said, you have to decide what you're willing.
So which should they watch?
I haven't heard back yet. I'm actually kind of anticipating, but I said if you forced me, I said if you forced me to choose one, I said I'd go with Sneakers, just because. Yes, Madam is Hong Kong action, which means the tone fluctuates so wildly that it can be jarring for American viewers. Where I'm like, Sneakers can't lose. Even if you don't love it like me, you will like it. No matter what.
The thing is, anyone I've shown that movie to has enjoyed it. And been
My
surprised.
wife thought it was great, and she has no interest in technology like I do.
And they're surprised that they missed this movie because the sheer quantity of people who were in it.
The people. I was listening, and I'm like, and I'm only giving you. I said Redford, Portier. I said Dan Aykroyd. I said Joe Statham, and I could not remember. I forgot all about. I mean, when
James
I was listening, I didn't want to point that out because that's kind of a surprise.
David Strathairn.
Yeah, that's right. David Strathairn, not Joe Statham. Okay. And I could not remember the woman's name. Is that Mary McDonnell? I'm getting her name wrong. Right?
I always remember her as the one from Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, let me see.
I always forget that.
I said I may have gotten this wrong, but I felt bad about that because I'm like, oh, of course I remember all the men's names. And she's great in it, so it's not any. Well,
she's great in it because she's the only female voice.
I got it right. It is Mary McDonnell. Oh, good.
Yeah,
I didn't mention Ben Kingsley either because again, I don't want to give anything away because I think that is a surprise. Unless you know it's going to happen, that is a surprise when he shows up.
The soundtrack alone is incredible.
Oh, that's what I said. I said the soundtrack's stellar.
I write to that soundtrack.
Who did? Was it James Horner? Did I get that right?
And actually,
Winston Marsalis is on it, but who did the actual soundtrack? It is holy shit. I remembered all this. Yeah, James Horner with. Oh no, it's not Winston Marsalis. Bradford Marsalis. I sometimes mess up one side or the other names, but I got most of them right.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you talk about soundtrack music because.
Was that where you were going?
No, well, it kind of segs to the thing I want to talk to you about, which is that. So you played that clip from. I saw the TV Glow. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. I saw TV Glow. Yeah.
And I really loved the music that was going on. Right.
Right.
So I checked out the soundtrack, and I actually really like the two tracks that are playing in that 10-minute sequence that you played for me, right?
Sure.
And I've been listening. I use those for writing as well now because I really like them. But this is kind of the seg back to the thing I was saying to you was, that speech, that 10-minute speech that you fucking cut from that movie, that was one of the longest clips we've ever had.
Yeah. Oh, easily. Yeah.
You know what? That has stayed with me so much.
See? You see?
It pops into my head at least once a day.
And that, by the way, before you go on, this is exactly because I was like, holy man, 10 minutes is a long clip. But then I listened to it again and I'm like, you can't cut this.
Yeah, ever since I heard that clip, it has stayed with me. Just the tone and the way it's acted and the mindset and the message.
It's exceptional.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's probably one of the best. What do you call it? Not a dialogue. What do you call it when you
monologue? It's a monologue.
It's probably one of the great monologues I've heard in a while.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, I just wanted to let you know that it had stayed with me.
And that's the thing
and
is
the music. And then the music, because I listen to the music separately, but the music is connected to that scene as well. So the music has a lot of power as well when you hear it,
And see, this is the thing too, is the visuals really cement it. The visuals are, and you didn't even see anything, and it stuck with you because the music and the performance are so good. But when you see the visuals,
hearing it was so intense. Yeah,
I have the scene memorized. It's that part of the movie is memorized for me because it is shot in such a intense and specific way. Yeah. Where it starts off with her very far away, and as the speech goes on, you're getting closer to the point where you're right up in her face.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
You know what I realized that I disliked about that movie?
What's that?
I was talking about it with my wife afterwards, and I realized the one thing that I disliked about that movie.
Sure.
Is that it was such a bummer. And I realized that a lot of these movies a lot of these message movies, because to some degree that's what it is. It's a message.
Yeah.
They're so depressing, and they take this tack of the warning, be true to yourself, or this could become of you type of thing. And I realized, you know what? I wish there were more celebratory movies, more movies that say, "Hey, if you do this, look how great it can be." You know what I mean? And I wonder if to some degree we don't get more of those because people are almost, they find it like too saccharine. But like I was thinking about like what is one of the best gay movies, like, and I know that this movie was a trans message, but for me I was thinking about what was one of the best gay movies that I saw growing up that had kind of for me the most positive message of homosexuality and how it's totally normal and it's totally cool and you know we should all love each other. And I realized that for me it's Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Sure.
You know, I watched that movie when I was pretty young, and that movie for me, like, now granted I grew up and one of my mom's best friend was gay and it was just very normalized to me. But like watching that movie, actually, you know what? That is a trans movie as well because Zod is that's not Zod. What's his name?
Oh, Terrence Stamp.
Terrence Stamp is a trans woman, isn't he?
Yeah. I believe you're right. I think.
Yeah.
That's
So
correct.
Hugo Weaving is gay and Guy Pearce is gay, but I'm pretty sure that Terrence Stamp is a trans woman.
Let's
yeah,
see.
and that movie is so loving and fun, and it's about people who have just accepted who they are, and now they have to get over their own personalities.
You are correct. A recently bereaved transgender woman. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, and when Guy Pearce's character dead names him, Terrence Stamp kicks the shit out of him.
Oh, and that is the big clue too. Yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm saying. Like that, I just realized that was the one thing I didn't like. You know, I love the way so much about that movie and so much about like the clips I heard and having read about it and the thought that it went into it. But I just realized it's the bummer of it that gets to me. It's like I want more positive message movies, I guess. You know, where it's like, it's not just you know, be true to yourself or everything will suck and you will die. You know, like I really want movies where like, hey, look, I was true to myself and this is great. Look what a great time we're having. Look how great life can be, you know? But like I said, I don't think, this is like the Matrix, we don't trust nice things, I think is really what it is.
Sure.
You
Well,
know?
and two things. One, because I'm glad you reminded me of this. I read that Vulture article all the way through. So I had
the
one
Vulture
comment
article about it was very good, yeah.
It was, although I disagree with one specific element of it that I think
I
they
disagree
actually
with a
made
few things, but
No, I'm meaning I think they interpreted it in a more, and this is going to sound strange for me to say, they were more pessimistic towards it than I was in this one interpretation, but I'll get to that. So the one thing about the movie is, when he gets to the end of it, there is chalk outline that says there is still time.
Yes.
And a lot of people have said that is the clue that this is not the end. He still can escape this. And that maybe by seeing the TV inside himself, maybe it will give him the push. I mean, so you can choose to see hope.
And that's the thing, that idea of the TV at the end and the fact that he sees it in his chest, is that to say that it's always with him?
Well, and the thing is, his asthma attack stops after that. So see, there's ways to interpret that ending.
Yeah.
That maybe by inches he is getting there. That he's just getting there a lot more slowly than she did. Which I'd like to think that might be true. That he will eventually escape. And hey, even if it's better late than never type of thing. But so that Vulture article, one of the things, and I think you pointed this out when you were talking about it, is the author said that one of the things that would be disappointing is if the only read of it that most people have is an indictment of fandom, of being of toxic fandom. And
listen, that interpretation is there.
Well, it is, but I don't think...
It's not the only thing there, but it is an interpretation.
But I don't think it's as surface level. Even if that's all you see, it still, I think, works in a deeper way because the obsession over the show is because it displays as far as we could tell on the show, it is a show that has a positive depiction of two women who are together and they are empowered. So even though you could say, well, she was just obsessed with the show. Well, yes, but because she saw a positive version of herself. That's not really bad. I mean, her wanting to bury the guy, that's bad, but he didn't get buried, so you can't look at it that way. So that's the other part where I'm like, I get that, but even if that's all you take out of it, it's not really a total negative. It doesn't dispel the deeper meanings. It just means that
but this goes back to the whole idea that the second you put art into the open market, it's up to individuals to experience it and interpret it the way they're going to interpret it.
Yes.
You know.
But I'm happy that stuck with you because, like I said, I really strained on. I went back and forth for a couple days on. I better cut this down to like 3 or 4 minutes, and I kept listening to him like, how do I cut this? How do I cut this and not destroy what makes it such a magnificent linchpin moment of the movie? You can't cut it. Because I know when I said this was about a 10-minute clip, I'm sure you're like, holy shit, 10 minutes before I played it. I'm like, fucking really? That long?
No, it was beautiful. It was fantastic, and it has stayed with me.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Like I said, it's probably one of the great monologues I've heard this year, at least.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I haven't come across anything else that's quite like that in a while. So
yeah. And it's hard. I mean, monologuing is hard these days because it can get very artificial. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, that scene done poorly would just destroy it. It would bury the movie. No pun intended for what the movie's events are, but it would you would check right out if it was miserably delivered.
I'm trying to think of the last great monologue before that. And I really can't think. Honestly, you know what? One of the great monologues that always pops into my head is the it's the end of movie with Edward Norton where he's going to prison, the Spike Lee movie.
25th Hour.
Yeah, and Cox is his name. It's the actor's name, right? Cox.
Yeah.
Dan Cox. What's his name?
Is it Alex Cox?
I don't even know. Basically, the actor Cox is his last name. He plays Edward Norton's father, and there's this big speech.
Brian Cox. Alex Cox, I think, is the director. Sorry,
there's a big speech at the end that he gives about how he doesn't need to go to prison, and the fantasy of what he could do, and it's this long speech in this kind of sprawling scene, but it's all just Cox talking, and that scene has always stayed with me.
Yeah, sure.
You know, but yeah, I'm trying to think like
there's
of Shakespeare.
I mean,
there's Edward Norton, not Edward Norton. Al Pacino in the football movie.
Any Given Sunday?
Any Given Sunday, yeah. His big speech about inches, which is really good, but that's like your classic football speech. You know what I mean?
Yeah. James Earl Jones, Field of Dreams, the speech about baseball, which is wonderful. There's lots of really good monologue speeches. There are lots.
I'm trying to think recently though. Like we're talking about a lot of movies that have been out for a while.
Recently,
that's what I mean. Like I don't know if I've heard a movie recently that where, like, even I know this is a movie that tanked, but I actually thought it was quite good. The Tomorrowland with George Clooney.
Yeah.
There's a great thing in there where Hugh Laurie is talking about how they realized that the future was fucked, and so they tried to scare people by giving them a post-apocalyptic vision of the future, so that it was hoping that it would like realign them. And rather than realign them, they found that people just loved the idea of it, and they gobbled it up for entertainment rather than be afraid of it. And it's this whole speech about how basically we're dooming ourselves. And that is a really great monologue. I mean, it's short, but he delivers it so well. And that's the thing. Sometimes you get really good monologues and not really great movies.
That's true. I mean, it does work that way sometimes. It doesn't guarantee just because a movie is not great doesn't mean there aren't great performances inside them.
Yeah,
it can happen. Yeah.
So.
But you're right. It's tough. I'm trying to think of a recent one, and I'm coming up somewhat.
Let's see. Great.
I mean, I'm back in 2021 looking through movie titles, and I'm sitting here going, anything? So far, nothing.
Movie.
Nothing I can think of.
Best recent movie monologues.
I'll be very curious what these people come up with.
Let's see. This is on Studio Binder. Oh, there's the speech from Call Me By Your Name, which I haven't seen.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, there you go. Manchester by the Sea. Haven't seen that one yet either. Maybe the problem is we're not watching the right movies.
Possibly. It's possible.
Like, I didn't see Hidden Figures. I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once yet. I want to.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
The Tragedy of Macbeth. Okay. The Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow speech, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the great monologues. I used to have that page thumbnailed in my copy of Macbeth.
Oh, you know what? Viggo Mortensen in Return of the King. Yeah, I can see that one. The one where he's talking about if the courage of men may fail. That is a great speech.
Oh, American
also,
Psycho.
Boromir's death speech is great.
The opening of American Psycho is considered.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
like a big monologue. But that's 2000. I mean, that's
Yeah, see, that's you're
23
going
years
back a
ago.
ways. You're going back a ways.
Yeah, like Matrix, Godfather. I mean, Good Will Hunting. These are all
these are all
older movies. Yeah. Although I want to tell you, I saw something the other day that I thought was probably one of the more genius things I've seen in a while. Like for comedy's sake. And my kids like to watch that. They started watching Tiny Nerdy Things, right?
Yeah.
And that's really funny, but that got them into Studson Studio. Which I've ever heard of Studson Studio?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he uses garbage to make models, and some of them are really neat. Like he made a cyberpunk Shrek.
You've talked about.
I've talked about Tiny Nerdy Things, right?
Yeah.
But we were watching a bunch of the Studson's studio where he was rebuilding locations from Studio Ghibli. Is it Ghibli or Ghibli? How do you fucking pronounce that?
I say Ghibli, but I don't know if that's right.
Studio Ghibli movies, right? And he did the whole castle from Howl's Moving Castle.
Uh-huh.
Which is kind of what got my kids recently. They watched it, and watching the Studson Studio is what they got them to see it, because man, I did not realize there was so much detail in that thing. You should watch that. Just the design of that is amazing to actualize. But he kept cutting to clips from Howl's Moving Castle, and after a while, I started to notice that though it was so Christian Bale did the English dub of Howl's Moving Castle, right?
Right.
And he did a really good job. I mean, it's he did the best he could. At times he's a bit monotone, but what the guy did in the Studson Studio was that he was cutting to clips of the Howl's Castle, and some of them were from the movie, and some of them were from American Psycho, and he had basically cut them into scenes of Howl's Moving Castle, and it was fucking genius because my kids had no idea. But like the second I heard it, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that's not from that movie. And it was
I know
funny.
what this is.
Yes, I know what he's about to do. Hal's about to kill somebody. So yes, that was just very funny. But yes, it was amazing seeing that guy build Howl's Moving Castle essentially from fucking garbage. And it looks amazing.
Howl's Garbage Castle.
It is. But it looked incredible. It didn't look like garbage at the end. It looked like it was right out of the fucking movie. It's crazy. Recently we got the kids into Studio Ghibli movies because they were like, well, they look like old school kind of like Disney movies. So to some degree, the kids see them and they're like, is this a kid's movie? You know what I mean? And then you start watching them, and what's so great about those movies is there's so many levels of things going on where, like, yes, it can be a kid's movie, but it also can be a very sort of like demanding kind of a philosophical adult movie to some degree as well, So
Sure.
yeah, we started them on Spirited Away, and then we just watched Howl's Moving Castle, and I want them to see Porco Rosso next.
Ooh, there you go.
Because that's probably one
I'd
of my,
rather be a pig than a fascist.
Yes, there you go. Right, and what's his name? Oh, Jesus Christ! The hell is his name? Batman. Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton does the voice of the pig.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm telling you, when I found out that Jean Reno did the French version,
that makes it better.
really. I hate to admit this, but I was really jealous that he didn't do the English
it would have been
version
so
too.
good.
It would have been great, right? Jeez.
Yeah.
Like I love Michael Keaton, but Jean Reno would have fit that role so well.
Oh, I agree. Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot that comes up in these great monologue lists that's past 2000. Very few.
No, it's
Lord of the Rings keeps coming up. There's a bunch right at 2000, 2001, but not
like
many.
there's no Marvel monologues.
Well, I
right?
wouldn't expect there to be. Hold on.
Yeah, that's exactly
I'm
what
not
it means.
I'm not gonna watch this, but I'm gonna scrub through this. This is one that's saying 2000 to 2021. So right, modern is in Gladiator. Okay, that's 2000. What's this one? This is this? What is this? Oh, is this adaptation? Yeah, it looks like adaptation because I see Nicolas Cage.
Okay, I've got the 7 best movie monologues of 2022.
Okay, go ahead. Let's hear it.
Pearl's Confession in Pearl. Never seen it.
No, haven't seen it.
Bobby's Speech in Bros. No, didn't see it.
Haven't seen it.
Queen Gudrun's Revelation in The Northman. Haven't seen it.
Oh, somebody's got a Morton Joe talking about don't become addicted to water. see, okay. This is actually I'm glad that came up because this is one thing I've noticed, and I'm curious on your take on this. I think what I'm thinking of are long monologues, not 5 or 6 great lines. And don't get me wrong, that is a monologue. You can have a great
like where
short
they go
monologue.
on.
But I'm talking about I'm talking about like a long a speech where somebody is like the Charlie Chaplin. What do you call it? The dictator speech, like that. Like that's a monologue. What I'm talking
here you go.
about.
The 25 iconic movie monologues that
Okay.
movie buff should know in 2024.
Show title.
This is from High Snobiety. It's a terrible name. Oh,
ooh, no, that's a great name. Go ahead.
All right, so the "I will kill you" speech from Taken.
Yeah, that one came up a lot. I saw that.
That's a good one.
All right.
Look, the Everything Everywhere All at Once speech. So now I definitely have to see that movie.
I guess, yeah.
Let's see. Call Me by Your Name came up again. Okay, I've got to see that.
Okay, yeah.
There's Some Good in the World. The speech from Samwise in Two Towers.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say Lord of the Rings. I've seen
that's
a
a
bunch
good one.
of those.
Yeah. The Green
The Joker
Light
will come up, I'm sure.
In The Great Gatsby? Is that the one with which one is it? The Baz Luhrmann one. Yeah, well, I mean it's great writing. I mean you have the Great Gatsby. It's good to call on. So then the morning routine from American Psycho. Okay.
There you go.
So we've seen these.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, the I Am Your Father speech from Star Wars.
Right, the vintage.
But that's not really a monologue, is it?
See, this is what I'm getting at. Is people. And technically, it's correct. A monologue just means it's one person delivering multiple lines in a vacuum, right? I mean, just by themselves.
Like, okay, Training Day, the King Kong speech.
Sure. But that 90s.
Goes on for a bit.
It does. 90s. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's something. This is supposed to be like greatest of all time.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Avengers Infinity War? This is Thanos. Apparently, when Thanos arrives to Titan, and he gives him the speech about what he's going to do.
Oh, about his speech about balance. That's when he shows up and
but that's so short.
See, well, that's where I think you and I are thinking the same thing, which is I'm thinking about long, multi-minute speeches.
So number 10 on the list is the Goodwill Hunting speech. Your Move Chief with Rob Williams.
Sure,
that's a great speech.
90s, yeah.
Yep. There you go. The gangster speech from Goodfellas, right?
Sure.
Let's see. Oh, the Hidden Figures speech, which I still haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Let's see. How about another Joker from the Joker movie? You know what? I gotta see that at some point.
I do not. I have zero interest in watching.
I don't want to watch it as a Batman like DC.
No, it's not that. It's a colossal bummer. It's a downer.
Yes, well that's
I don't
why
know.
That's why I'm dragging my feet. This is the whole. Why do they all have to be bummers? Although I'm very fascinated by the sequel and the fact that it's a musical.
Yeah, if it doesn't end up in ritual suicide, I might watch it.
I know. And then there's the betrayal speech from The Social Network. Didn't watch it.
Well, that's Sorkin, so yeah.
I know. Do the Right Thing, the love and hate speech.
Sure. Yeah, 90s.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
I never watched The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh,
there's apparently a great speech there.
Sure.
Here you go. Killmonger's death speech in Black Panther.
Excellent.
That's actually probably the one really good.
What year is that? 04? What is that?
Yeah, that's 2018, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is. Yeah, 04.
Think about that. Yeah.
I think I meant to say 2014, not 2004.
Yeah. Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships because they knew death was better than bondage. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Marvel movie. So there you go. And then
but it's a Marvel movie with a very specific point of view.
What the number one speech is on this list?
Well, if it's not Jaws, I don't want to hear it.
Oh man, that is a good one.
Right.
The Indianapolis. You know, I watched that the other day randomly. It popped into my head, and I was like,
"Great movie."
No, this is as good as that one, and and that's saying a lot for me.
As good as that one.
It is as good as that one. It is as epic as that one, and it is a speech that has stayed with me.
Give me the year roughly.
Oh shit! What year did this movie come out?
90s, 80s, 70s. Where are we?
I think is it the 70s or is it 80s? When the hell fuck this thing come out?
Yeah, check when.
Hold on,
this
let me
is
check the
interesting.
year.
Ooh, interesting. It's got to be a drama. Let me think about this. Unless it's network. Is it network?
1982.
Oh, then it's not network. 1982.
You know this movie very well.
I'm sure I do, but I'm trying to think of what this. Okay, wait a minute, because network is one I would put towards the top. Is network even in that list?
No, it's not. No, in this
well,
list.
Then this list is invalidated.
This isn't a great list, but this is. Okay. And I'm not saying this is the greatest speech ever, but this is a really great monologue. It is a great movie monologue.
82.
Yeah.
Huh. Early 80s. Is it science fiction or is it drama?
Science fiction.
Okay. I want to see.
You know what this is. You know it.
Wouldn't be Terminator, right? No, it wouldn't be Terminator.
No, you know what this is.
82. Unless it's the Thing.
Nope.
No, it wouldn't be the Thing.
Come on, man. Think about it.
Well, 82 is not like 84.
I'll give you a clue.
All right, give me a clue. It
wasn't written in the screenplay.
Oh, Blade Runner?
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, see.
Oh, fuck you. Tears in the Rain.
No. It is, but that's
one of the great
even to me, that's
monologues. Oh, no. That goes on for a while.
It goes on for a while, but it's not that long. Meaning.
No, but that is still a monologue.
No,
that
I understand. But
yeah.
like Jaws, he's talking for like 7 minutes.
All right, hold on.
He's telling the story continuously, right? The Blade Runner one, he's
no,
pausing.
I'll give you that. The Tears in the Rain speech.
I'm not saying it has any.
Hold on. It's 2 minutes long.
Okay, and how long is the Jaws speech?
I'm going to go find it.
Yeah. It's longer than 2 minutes. I want to say, I'm thinking it's 7 minutes, but I might be wrong about that because, I don't know, 7 minutes is what pops into my head, but I probably am.
Hold on.
I might be underestimating it. I mean, I'm sure that's isolated as its own clip.
I'm checking to see because there's people who also. Here we go. Let's see. It is.
How long?
It is less than 4 minutes.
Really? That's
yep.
Without any cutting, it's 4 minutes, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but twice as long as the Blade Runner one.
It is. Oh yeah, and the thing is, like, because of the atmosphere of the movie, you feel it.
Well, also, you know.
But the Jaws speech is a great speech.
And that's not to say I don't love the Blade Runner speech, but a lot of that is, it's less about. I mean, it's what he's saying, but it's also the looks. It's also the music, the atmosphere.
Yeah, but that's a monologue. A monologue is how you act it.
I understand.
Altogether.
I understand. But what I'm saying is the Jaws one,
yeah,
you can cut out everything around it and just have his audio purely. And there is no ounce of power that is lost. If you heard the Roy Batty speech in a vacuum, it's not as impactful.
Well, that's
as
because the Jaws speech tells a story.
Right.
And the story has
has
a weight to it.
I'm not saying that one is better. I'm saying that my idea, when somebody says great monologue,
apples and oranges, as far as I'm concerned.
That's it. But as far as because the two of the ones you mentioned, death scenes to me are not monologue. I know they are technically. I'm not making an argument.
Well, they are monologue. Listen, to be or not to be is basically a death speech.
No, I understand. But to me, a death speech is its own thing that exists separately than
its own category of monologue.
Yeah, because there's more. Because a monologue can exist with nothing around it, and it still works perfectly. A death scene, at least in most cases, is dependent on your association and attachment to the character
and I guess
everything that's come before.
I have a difference of opinion with you. A monologue is basically, to me, any scene of a certain length of time where it's only one character talking.
Oh, and in a technical sense, you're absolutely correct, and I'm absolutely wrong. This is an interpretation of what something is.
And I understand that's your own rules. That's fine. And
that's why I'm not saying there's a quality.
And I don't
comparison.
separate death monologues from normal monologues. There's just so many different types of monologue, and the ones that appeal to you. So sure. I love the Tears in the Rain speech. It is 2 minutes long. I love the Jaws speech. It's 4 minutes long. The one that you cut the other night, that's 10 minutes, and that's 10 minutes. That's riveting.
The funny part about the Blade Runner one is it's almost so automatic I didn't even think of it.
Well, I know that's the thing, is it because
it is weird that way.
Now, I want you to stop for a second, because this is something that's happening to the both of us that we don't realize. There are movies that have become so intrinsically part of the fabric of our
and that's the thing with sneakers. That's why when I said it to this person, I said, "Oh, I'm sure you've seen this." Assuming
you don't realize what it must be like to show someone that movie for the first time. Because
Well, it was like my wife not seeing Near Dark when I assumed
you
because
haven't
she's in a Halloween movie, she's seen it.
Yeah, because you haven't experienced that movie for the first time for so long. It is just part of you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, man. Recently, I started showing my kids the Merlin miniseries with Sam Neill.
Yeah, I was going to say Sam Neill is Merlin. Yeah.
Now, I love that show. I love that show for two reasons. Well, three reasons. One, I love Sam Neill. Two,
Sure.
Sam Neill's coat in that movie inspired me.
Sure.
And three, the scene at the end where he makes Nimue and himself young again, it always gets me. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
There's something about it's the last spell. It's the last thing he does where he brings them both back. Now, that said, watching it again with my kids, they're a little bored because it was one of the most expensive Hallmark movies made at that point. But at the end of the day, it was a made-for-TV miniseries when made-for-TV miniseries were not, what made-for-TV miniseries are today. Today, the miniseries are bigger than the movies sometimes.
Right.
Then, it was television. The fact that Sam Neill was doing it was a big deal.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
That's where the budget went.
Yeah, exactly. That's what my wife said. My wife said they spent all the money on the actors because Rutger Hauer's in that. Sam Neill's in that.
I would be shocked if that's not true.
But it's the whole. But the emotional value of it is still there for me, and so I will make them watch the whole thing with me. Well, actually, at one point, my daughter does this thing when she's bored, where she starts to get kind of obnoxious and like openly kind of like make noises in the corner. And I actually looked at her and I was like, I don't care that you're bored. We're watching this. And I just turned away. And she was quiet after that. But for me, that show is totally worth it. Even though it's like one of your B movies where like, no, it's not perfect. There's things that are dated. But the payoff is when you get to the end of that movie and he does that thing where he makes the two of them young again. And I'm like, oh God, I feel that. Plus, I have to say this. There's a dragon in that movie in the first episode, so it's only 3 episodes. The dragon doesn't look good in the sense that it's CG from, like, the 90s, right? Like, it's bad CG. But I was actually somewhat surprised by the design of it. Where, like, it was a very non-traditional dragon. It had, like, a thin head and, like, very long neck. And then it had, like, 2 sets of arms. So they had like a little set, and then it had another little set underneath it, and I was just like, oh, you know what? I was like, I forgot that there was some like kooky design in this movie.
Yeah, it's got very what do you call it? Non-threatening eyes for a dragon.
Yeah, but I mean, but Sam Neill in that outfit, in that Merlin outfit, is fucking iconic.
They spent the money well if they spent it on him.
They spent it on Sam Neill.
Yeah, they did. They made the right decision.
And that's why the first episode is a week, because he's only in like the last
when you have somebody like that and you don't have a lot of them, it's clear.
But I was we watched the Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie. My kids were asking me all about Merlin, and I was trying to explain to them the basics of the actual Arthurian legend, which gets weird because I mean it's all because things all go south because Uther wants to sleep with somebody else's wife. Arthur sleeps with his half sister. And then has to fight his bastard child.
Gets a little gross.
It gets weird. Yeah, it gets weird. And I can't show them Excalibur yet.
No.
But what's funny is that when you think about, I didn't realize this, but when you think about like how iconic the Arthurian legend is, man, I was explaining to them how Tolkien was such a huge Arthurian fan, and as I was explaining to them, I was realizing all the things that in Lord of the Rings that are Arthurian legend. Like Aragorn and his special sword his sword of kings that gets reforged. And Gandalf is basically fucking Merlin. He even functions like Merlin a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. Gandalf the Grey. I think Gandalf the Grey is more Merlin. Gandalf the White.
Absolutely. No, definitely.
Yeah.
Not even comparison.
But it's very funny because it's like, where do you get your iconic imagery? Like what does your Merlin look like? Because for me, my Merlin is a hybrid of Sam Neill and Gandalf at this point.
What does Merlin look like to me? No, Merlin for me, you have to understand, I'm not as big into all this stuff as you are. It's like Arthurian, I know it and it's fine, but I don't care.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's gone beyond that. It's gone into the pop culture.
No, I know, but for me, Merlin is a goof. So
oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
Merlin to me is not. Merlin's closer to
Disney. Merlin is Disney.
Radagast. What was the one that
Radagast?
Sylvester McCoy? Yeah, Radagast. That's Merlin. Merlin is a klutzy, not stupid, but bumbleheaded, or
he's more like he's more like the Disney version of the Sword of the Stone.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if he had bird poop on his face and didn't realize it for half an hour, type of thing.
My Merlin and your Merlin are very different.
No, my Merlin is more of the. But I say that, and it's not really to lessen the thing, though. But my Merlin is the one where. And you don't think about him until like a child is in trouble, and suddenly he rears back, and all of the power comes out of him, and he wipes half a countryside out.
Well, it's like Gandalf.
To save a child, type of thing. Yeah.
Gandalf is all goofy, he's smoking
except
weed.
Gandalf. Gandalf. Okay, here's the thing: the way at least Ian McKellen played Gandalf, I always felt this was Gandalf's folksiness. And there's a scene where he says, "Don't make this like I'm trying to," where he rises up and starts using the black
I'm not
speech.
trying to rob you. I'm trying
like
to
that. That's Gandalf. He is covering this immense, vast power where he is. I've always thought of Gandalf as only a little bit different than Galactus in the sense that he is this cosmic level being who is
but if you
at interfacing with lessers
and being
amused by it.
And the reason that I disagree with you is only because I read the books. And I know in the books, he's not playing. When he takes a mortal form, he loses most of his astral power. And he is somewhat befuddled, and he does smoke way too much of the halfling weed. Do you know what I mean? Like
that may be in the books, but in the movie, I don't believe that's communicated. I believe in the movie.
It's fascinating that's the way it translates to you.
Yeah, which again, like
Gandalf
Merlin,
is just covering for the fact that he is not of this earth.
Yeah, that he's playing a human or whatever the term, a man type character.
But he's making himself more relatable.
Well, he because the white version is to me the real version. That's real Gandalf, and the gray version had taken on this mask of.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is that I none of them, to me, are the real Gandalf. They are all. It's almost like Gandalf has this astral. It has this godlike. He's basically an angel, like, right, to some degree. Like, he's this kind of super being.
Yeah, sure.
But only a part of him can be expressed into kind of the mortal realm, right? So I feel like whenever he can only kind of project so much of himself in, right? And
when he sticks his pinky onto Earth, it is just his pinky and not the rest.
I know,
of
but I always think that
what you're saying.
You know what? The pinky's a good thing. He always has to decide which finger he's going to put in.
Yeah.
And every finger is a different kind of version of him.
That's the book version.
So Gandalf is the thumb, and Gandalf the white. Gandalf the gray is the thumb, and Gandalf the white is the index finger. You know what I mean?
See, and that's where I feel like the movie, consciously or not, did not use that.
No, because you don't know that Gandalf can do that.
Right.
You don't
so
know
that's what I'm saying is.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the book, I'm going by what's presented in the movie. And in the movie,
they don't ever really tell you that he's more than just mortal, do they?
When he becomes the white version.
No, I know, but before that.
No.
Yeah.
No, not outside of when he gets angry, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, this is not just a folksy wizard who's just kind of, has access to a couple of really neat spells and fireworks.
Yeah.
When he does that scene, that is to me the revelation that no. This is a being that exists far above the being he's speaking to, and he is deigning to fake being folksy because he happens to have an affinity for these creatures.
It's such an interesting interpretation.
Oh, yeah. No, that's always been my read of Gandalf. See, you read the books, though. That's why you come to it with the book knowledge. I don't. I never got far enough to get any of that, and I never cared to read it. I don't care about any of it. So
you know what?
Matter.
Listen, Lord of the Rings is one of those things. I hate to admit this. I wish somebody would rewrite it in like a less.
I guarantee somebody has. I'm sure.
I'm a linguist, super intelligence type thing. You know.
I am positive that there has been multiple rewritings of it. You could probably go find them. I'm sure of it. There are certainly people who've done it. I would play money on it.
I want someone to write it like it's a D&D novel. Like it's a series.
I would bet
it's a Forgotten Realms book. You know
I'd bet a small amount of money it's been done. I would bet a small amount of money. I wouldn't bet enough to lose my house, but I would bet money on it.
I'm
50
curious.
to $100. I would say somebody's done an attempt. I'm not saying it's good or not, but I'm sure somebody's done it.
I want to see if they did this.
I'm sure somebody's done it.
Hold on. They probably didn't. But is there? Okay.
Well, and also, you're gonna have to phrase it right.
So they sometimes when they make a movie of a book, right?
Yeah.
They still do a novelization of the movie.
Yeah, adaptation.
Acknowledging that the movie is different, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I was curious if anyone had ever actually done a novelization of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies.
That I would doubt.
I can't find
it. No.
No.
That's not what I'm. What you were describing is not that.
Yeah.
To me, when you say a D&D version, it's more of I don't want to say this as a derogatory statement, but more of a streamlined fantasy version without all the density of Tolkien.
Yeah. Like I just want the adventure. You know what I mean?
And I promise you, somebody's done it.
And the thing is with Tolkien was incredibly intelligent, and he didn't write these as fantasy novels. He wrote them as fucking classics.
Well, that's
he wrote
what I'm saying.
Them as Arthurian legends.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes. Right. So I'm sure it's been done.
But separate from the books, I do find that interpretation of Gandalf fascinating. This idea.
Well, because
that
mine is purely based on.
More. I mean, does it make him menacing?
No. It doesn't. I wouldn't say menacing. No. It makes him cosmic, which I know cosmic's the wrong word for it. You know, he's angelic,
I get what you're
saying.
Yeah, he
is. It's like Galactus talking to the Silver Surfer. Galactus and the Silver Surfer are not on the same level, but he could speak to the Silver Surfer. You know. Or like when the Beyonder comes to Earth and he's like, I want to see what Earth's all about. And he takes a human form. But then when shit starts getting weird, he turns into a fucking universe-sized monster and goes crazy. Like Gandalf is, but he's on the benevolent side. Saruman's on the evil side, or goes evil, whatever you want to say. But that's the thing is they're wearing the mask of...
Saruman is... you know what? Actually, you know what? I don't remember this. But Saruman dies. So when Saruman dies, he reunites with the god version of himself, right? Does the god version of the self disagree with the decisions that his mortal form made?
No, probably not, because I would imagine, and I don't know this, you would know this better than me from the books, or somebody else. A Tolkien, what's the word for it? What is the word for academic would have a better explanation. But my guess is, based on what you're telling me, that the Saruman that existed in Middle Earth is not the god; it's a facet of the god, and so he would reincorporate himself and realize, this was the evil part of me. Apparently, went too much into my vessel, so I distilled a little too much of my evil in there.
I'm just looking to see if anybody has mentioned that. What happens?
I'm sure there are long dissertations on it somewhere. We cannot possibly be the only people that have ever asked this.
I'm looking to see what it says.
I'm sure.
Oh, here you go. Here's a question, right?
So
this on Reddit. What happens to Istari, which is I think what Gandalf and Saruman are, when their physical form dies? What happens if they fall out of grace like Saruman? So there's a bunch of answers from people who are far read, and they said that good Istari and other incarnate Maiar who are slain are welcomed back to Aman, where they may be reincarnated by the power of the Valar. This is my guess, not certainly, but if the Valar can do it for slain elves, I suppose they can do it for slain Maiar. So Gandalf was an exception in that he was very quickly reincarnated, enhanced by Eru in the same place where he died so that he could finish the job. Interesting. This is
Okay.
no guess. Tolkien, in one of his letters, is explicitly said this.
Oh.
But bad ones are out of luck. And Anui incarnating himself expends some power to make that body, and if the body is destroyed, that power is lost, especially if the Anui has become very attached to it. If they don't have enough innate power to reincarnate themselves, they are doomed to wander the world discarnately until the end, perhaps able to observe it but not influence it. This is still my guess and not a certainty. So Saruman was twice an exception because he was twice slain while the ring existed. This is Sauron. Sorry, Sauron. The ring anchored him in the physical world so that he could reincarnate himself. Had the ring endured, he probably could have been slain and reincarnated himself any number of times, though possibly with reduced remaining power each time. So, interesting. Yeah, so Saruman, like the slain Balrog, probably suffered the same fate. Once slain for the first time, that was it for him. So there you go. He did not reincarnate with the rest of himself because it would have cost too much energy, and there was no assistance because he was a traitor.
Well, there we go.
And this is the thing. This is what's so fascinating about Tolkien, which is that it's so dense that there's all this interpretation and shit in there.
Sure.
You know, because he built this whole mythology. It's like at times like reading the Bible. And that's what makes it so interesting to draw on. But reading it is like reading the Bible, where you're reading it and you're like, oh, God.
Boy, is it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
And listen, the same goes for Arthurian legend. I mean, you go back. Listen, I don't want to read Beowulf. I especially don't want to read it in, the original language it was written in, which goes back to Middle English. Because I'm pretty sure that's what it was written in originally. So, yeah, it's... And this is one of the things that pops up in literature, which is that there are works of fiction written in different times were written for different people in different mindsets. And the further back you go, the more alien it will feel, even though it was written, even if it's written in English, right? I mean, like, what is the first, they're going to say Beowulf, what is the first modern, that's the key word, modern English novel written? Let's see. First novel is usually credited to be Robinson Crusoe, which was first published in 1719. Oh, shit. Interesting. Have you read Robinson Crusoe?
I think I did in high school. I barely remember it.
Okay. You can't enjoy it like a modern novel. It has a sensibility unto itself. You don't get things that you want, and you do get things that you don't want from the narrative.
Well,
and
I also think it wasn't a great way to read it because it was...
Well, you're forced.
You were reading it for analysis of kind of how... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not where you read it for
you
pleasure.
weren't reading it for fun.
Yeah, yeah.
The whole idea is when you read,
anything.
you're experiencing the psychological flow of an author, right? But what you're really doing is you're experiencing the psychological flow of a human being from, in Robinson Crusoe's case, 1719. Right? And it feels alien because you're laying a...
Whoa. Man, that was weird.
Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we had a weird...
That was weird. You cut out for... That I think was Skype. That wasn't your microphone. You cut out for a minute, and I thought you dropped. And then you came back,
I thought you
heard
dropped.
Like the Skype boop. Yeah. No, so you said you're experiencing the psychological, and then it stopped. And then you came back.
You're experiencing
my
the psychological...
recording is still running, so I think we're fine. Yeah,
yes, my recording is still running. So I'm just making sure. Yes, it still is. You're experiencing the psychological flow of an individual from 1719. And that feels alien when you encounter it. Because, there's the sentence itself is a stream of thought. It is a human creation. There is no... the sentence, as we know it, is a totally human creation. Does not exist in nature. Does not exist in the wild without human beings. We made it. We made it as an approximation of thought. Right? Because we think usually in some sort of beginning, middle, and end. That's a thought. That's a sentence. So when you read, you are experiencing the thought process of another individual. It doesn't matter that he's telling you a story. It doesn't matter what they're telling you. At the end of the day, you're experiencing somebody else's brainwaves in some extent. And you are kind of syncing to them for the duration of that tale, right? So in the case of older books, you're trying to sync to a brain space that is hundreds of years out of date with your current software as you know it. So you could read a modern novel, right? And you could be like, oh, this feels fine. This feels normal. La la la. You could read Tolkien and you could go, this feels a bit stuffy. This feels a bit out of place. But you know what? I still read it and enjoy it. Or you could go read Robinson Crusoe and be like, this feels awkward. Like there is an adventure here. There is a story. But the things that the novel will point to, things that it will emphasize, not even the idea of the fact that it's a different time with different morals and codes, but just the very things that the author will notice and point to and describe in detail are alien to an individual sitting there in 2023. You know, and that's what makes literature so fascinating, but also so difficult for people in the modern day to pick up, because it takes work to read Robinson Crusoe. Whereas you can pick up a Dan Brown novel and just kind of eat that shit with popcorn. You know?
Some would suggest eating it like popcorn is the best thing to do with a Dan Brown novel.
So, anyway, that's all I got for you. I mean, honestly, I didn't have anything. I didn't realize that.
Oh, that's
I walked into this room with nothing. I was ready to talk about color for the next hour.
Well, we sort of did, color of a wide variation, but that's okay because I knew what I was walking in with. So no matter what, I knew where I was going to end up. And that is the fact that right about the time I texted you today saying, hey, are we on for normal time?
Yeah.
About 10 minutes after that, my wife and I started Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, and watched it. Because I knew I wanted to see that as soon as possible.
Oh,
so,
it just came up for rental, right?
It did. Yeah, $25,
right.
So it's a little expensive. But you know what? I didn't care.
No, fuck you. That's totally worth it.
Yeah. It was totally worth it, let me tell you. Because I didn't get any clips of it because, I didn't have time. So
that's fine.
No clips.
Regale me. I'm curious.
It's okay. I mean, Anna Taylor-Joy says, I don't know, she might have 6 sentences in the whole movie, so it's not like you'd hear a lot of her anyway. She barely ever speaks. So I'll start with this. Do not compare this movie to Fury Road. That's number one. A lot of people are doing that. It's a bad idea.
It's completely different.
Well, it's completely different for 2 reasons. The first being, the more I have read about Fury Road and the road to it getting made, its production itself, everything, I am convinced, no matter what anybody says, that George Miller did not think he would ever make another Mad Max film. And I think most of the people involved never thought there would be another Mad Max film. That this was, for everybody, for a lot of the people who've been working on it and were really, really attached to the material, they felt like this was probably the last chance to make something, and they did things that were at times dangerous to their own health and mental wellness because they wanted to get it right, and they had to do it the way they had to do it. And so you could never make it again because this movie comes in the shadow of that, which means that, but plus, that movie was pre-pandemic. Now we're well after that. The theaters are dying. It's over. I don't know what people think. It's not coming back. It's not going to. I was already done with theaters before it. I'm so done with them now. You could not get me into a theater unless it would have to be a situation like this. I'll describe what would get me to go to a theater. Ready?
And they need to pivot, honestly. They just need to pivot and accept that and make stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
For that market.
But the only way to get me in a theater, to give you an example of how it's never going to happen, is Katsuhiro Otomo is coming to a screening of Akira and he's going to talk to the audience and meet people. Fine, I'll go.
Where?
That's it. I don't care. I'll get there.
You know what? I hope you get tickets.
No, it's not going to happen. I thought you said he was. No. I'm saying that's the scenario that gets me to a theater. Outside of that, I'm not going. I was done
man,
well
I was
before.
so excited the idea that you might actually get tickets for that.
No. It's not. I don't know if he'll ever do something like that. Probably not. But anyway.
Yeah.
So this is a movie in a completely different world than that one was. So this idea that you're comparing it, throw that away. And this, as many people have already documented, this is the backstory that was written so that they could make Fury Road. This was already all laid out. This whole story, outside of tweaks here and there, this was what George Miller felt like they had to have in place to be able to make Fury Road correctly. Everybody had to know where everybody came from. And so this is that story made into a movie, which is Furiosa's backstory. And to some people, I think they go into this and they're like, well, we know that the green place doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. We know where she ends up. What's the point of this? The point is, you understand why she's the way she is in Fury Road. This is all about her.
This is like making the last Lord of the Rings movie first, and then everyone going, well, why do you have to make Fellowship of the Ring?
Right.
And you're like, because it's an interesting story, fucker. That's why.
I mean, I wouldn't even have put a Mad Max saga on this because that's way too close to Solo or Star Wars story.
They want the name. They need to bring
the
morons along.
I guess. Even though I think at this point everybody knows who Furiosa is if you have any interest in movies. If you were going to go see this, you already know who the character is. But that's fine. Whatever. I'm sure, like a lot of things, this was a studio decision. As I would guess Max's appearance for one scene was. I would be very curious if George Miller actually wanted that or not. Because it's so pointless and brief. It's nothing but a hey. I mean, maybe that he wanted to see the Interceptor again. I guess that might be a reason, but that's about it. Because
do you see the Interceptor?
Yeah, because don't forget this is pre-Fury Road, so
yeah,
it's almost as if we're seeing the scene. Well, except that many years go by, but he's on a cliffside when she is wounded, trying to escape from Dementis. And you see the Interceptor on a cliff, and he's staring at her, and that's it.
Is it Tom Hardy?
No. You see it from the back. You don't even see his face. It's like a faraway shot, but it's clearly him because it's the Interceptor from
so
Fury Road. It's a stupid thing. It's pointless.
It's just a call out.
Yeah. I'm wondering if somebody said, "Hey, you think you could put an accent somehow?" I was like, "Okay, fine. I'm looking over a cliff." But the movie it's also, I think, for a lot of people, the fact that half the movie it's her as a child. Probably didn't work for a lot of people. I had no issues with it. My wife had no issues with it. Because Anna Taylor-Joy doesn't show up till a good hour plus into this movie. Did you read how they did the facial thing with the two actresses? Did you read any of this?
No, I didn't. No.
So what they did was, because the young girl and Anna Taylor-Joy don't look anything alike. Nothing. Because Anna Taylor-Joy almost looks like an alien. Her eyes
She has a very... very unique face, yes.
She has hairless cat eyes. So she has a very distinctive look. I'm not saying that's a negative. I'm just saying that's what I think of, is a hairless cat.
I hate to say this, but she is not a Charlize Theron.
Correct. Although did they make her sort of CG into her, but only for a second. Anyway, I'll get to that. So what they did was, every few scenes of the young girl, they are slowly digitally altering her face to make it look more like Anna Taylor-Joy. So by the time you get to where she's older, they look the same. They've basically trained you to think they're the same person. It works really well. You don't notice it. It's not obvious. But if you look at images of the young girl in the beginning and then you go to, let's say, 30 minutes in, her face is different. It's really ingenious. It's probably the best way to do something like this. It's like a slow morph. You know, the 90s thing where you would morph
they
somebody
made her
else.
grow up into Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, so they just changed her facial features, and I think what they said was they overlaid Anna Taylor-Joy's de-aged face onto hers very subtly, so that it just started changing, which does happen to young children as they grow up. Their bodies do change. Not that much, but you don't care because it's a movie. So, movie starts out, and it's broken up into chapters. I believe there's 6 chapters, I think. I don't remember all the titles. The last one is Beyond Vengeance, which I'm like, hey, Beyond. I got that. Very nice. So it starts out in the green place. Everything's idyllic. She's there. She's out with her friend, who is Valkyrie, who shows up in Fury Road. So a lot of characters from Fury Road are in this. Either far younger or just slightly younger versions, like the organic mechanic, the doctor. He's working for Dementis first and then gets poached by Immortan Joe. Immortan Joe's great. You get a lot of him.
It's not him, though, right? It's somebody else.
No, it's a different actor, but it doesn't matter. He does the voice very well. He physically looks, I mean, I don't know what the actual actor looks like, but they bulked him up. The only thing you can tell about him is he's younger, which he would be because it's about a decade before or whatever. I think it's 19, what do they say, 15 to 19 years, something like that. So he doesn't have as many wrinkles in his face, but otherwise, identical. To the point where you would almost not, if you didn't know that the original actor had died, you might not even know it. They brought back Rictus Erectus, same actor. Organic Mechanic, same actor. Bullet Farmer, same actor. The the People Eater, same actor. They brought a lot of the Fury Road people back. But it starts off, she's young. She gets caught by raiders who work for Dementis. And Dementis at first... Dementis is a very interesting character because there was a point where my wife said, is it bad that I actually like Immortan Joe now compared to him? And I went, that's a fascinating statement.
Well,
it tells you
is Dementis Chris Hemsworth?
Hemsworth. Yeah, Hemsworth.
Okay.
Because she said, I actually am starting to root for Immortan Joe now, which is a hell of a thing to say.
That is a hell of a thing, yeah.
Yeah, because Dementis is, he's basically a doofus he's a con man for all intents and purposes. He's built a cult of personality. Because when you first meet him, when Furiosa is brought to him, he looks like a lot of people say he looks like the Love Guru, that Mike Myers movie, and he does. It is, once you have that image in your head, it's hard not to laugh at it because it does look just like it. I mean, he looks like you do think it's the Love Guru. It's very funny. Not intentional. It's just the fact that he does look just like him, especially with that prosthetic nose on his face, which apparently he wanted because he didn't want to look pretty. That was not in the script. There was nothing that required that. He said, "I want."
Oh yeah. He wanted to have that. He wanted to make himself look different enough.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, the only thing is, he so looks like Thor at multiple times that it breaks the idea of making, because he's jacked, obviously, still. And he's got a cape on a lot of times. At one point, it's red. He looks like Thor, and he's riding like a chariot. It's almost like
the motorcycle chariot.
Yeah, which is delightful, and they use it a lot.
I read that Hemsworth was excellent.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if they hadn't given him the cape, and if they'd done a couple things differently, some people might not have realized it was him for a while. But it's him immediately, even with that fake nose. I mean, you can't. I don't care, but they didn't do enough because I think the idea that he wanted to project was, I don't just want to be the same person everybody always sees me as, and that's what the fake nose was supposed to be. And the performance is great. So when you first meet him, he's playing almost a Manson type, where he's got all these people and they're living in misery, but he's saying, eventually I will deliver you into a wonderful world. I will get you out of this. There will be food and drink for everybody. You just have to stick with me. And they do. He runs the Wasteland's biggest biker gang. It's really what it is. They're all bikers, but they're all hippie bikers. Not necessarily in how they dress and act, but in the fact that they've essentially gone with this spiritual guru guy, which again even more reinforces the Love Guru joke.
And they had to make him different from Immortan Joe.
Oh boy, and do they? Oh man, Immortan Joe is the character. I was concerned when he showed up so early and how much they were showing. I was like, man, you take a risk when you show this much of a character, because some of his power is in how little you know about him in Fury. You'll only understand what you need to understand. And so I was like, I don't know. I mean, they're going way into the Citadel with this, but honestly, it's really well done because they still don't reveal too much about him. And what they do show underscores why he has the power he does. So they don't try to humanize him, which I think is smart. Mm-hmm. At no point does he become really more likable. But compared to Dementis, because he doesn't do anything worse than what we already know, Dementis just keeps plumbing the depths of scum. And so he becomes worse. So he realizes that Furiosa, because the doctor inspects her and says, yes, she's in really good shape. She has not suffered. And so Dementis right away is like, okay, then she came from somewhere that has stuff. So we have to find out where it is. And so he adopts her as his daughter. And he's got the little teddy bear because he says that his wife and daughter have been killed. And so that's why he wants her as his daughter. So he's trying to get her to hold the teddy bear. And she is silent. She's mute. She won't speak. And so you see her, and he has her in a cage with the History Man. And the movie starts off, as many of these Mad Max movies are, where the History Man is telling the tale of this. So all of this could be conjecture. It doesn't mean, just like they all are, this could just be a fable. Because the first thing is you see him and he vanishes. So that's how the movie starts, right away saying, okay, this is not supposed to be entirely grounded in reality. We're being told a story. And the ending, there's 3 endings, all of which could be true. Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So he's keeping her around, and the years are passing, and he is building his army. He's conquering kind of smaller gangs, and building these really hardcore followers. And then there's a point where they're driving along and they see one of those big smoke bombs go off that in Fury Road that they would fire into the air, the flares.
Yeah.
And so they're like, what's that? And so they go and they go to it, and there's a war boy there who's taken an arrow to the skull and has fired off the flare. And he's like, who are you? And he's like, well, I'm a war boy. I'm trying to get back to the Citadel. And they're like, well, what did you shoot off? And he's like, well, it's a flare. That brings help. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll help you. Where's this Citadel of yours? And he's like, oh, it's right over there. Here, take me and I'll show you. And so this biker gang army pulls up to the Citadel, and Dementis gets on the microphone and says, hey, everybody, I'm going to give you a better life. Kill all of your leaders, throw their bodies down here, and there will be food and drink and fun for everyone. Right? At which point, Immortan Joe walks up and looks at him, says nothing. And Rictus and Scrotus are his two sons. And then the people leader, I keep on calling him the purple people leader, the purple leader, the guy with the suit, the accountant, with the nipple rings. He says, yeah, you fucked up because I don't think you understand what you're dealing with. He's like, here, let's show you. Pick a war boy, any war boy that you see. And Dementis is thrown off, and he says, what? And like, pick one of the war boys, anybody you want. He says, well, what if I don't pick somebody? He's like, well, then we'll pick somebody for you, but we'd like to let you do it. And Dementis thinks it's a trap. So he says, I'm going to let my second in command over here, basically his court jester, he calls him his Smeg. I'm going to let my Smeg do it, which I was like, Red Dwarf. And so the Smeg guy goes, he's like, that one. And he points at one of the war boys, and Immortan Joe takes the mic and says, you are awaited. And so the war boy picks up a couple of the detonation sticks, walks over, sprays his mouth, and throws himself off the building and blows himself up, killing one of the bikers. And Immortan Joe's like, now you're going to see what we do here, because we're all going to kill you because they're not afraid to die. At which point, they start raining fire and suiciding themselves all over Dementis' people. And Dementis is like, fuck, and takes off. Like, he grabs Furiosa, and they take off, and he's like, we got to get the fuck out of here.
How old is Furiosa at this point?
I don't know. Whatever the actual young actress is, it's within
she's
a
still
year
a little girl.
or two. Yeah, very little. Oh, very little. Yeah, very little. And so they take off, and they escape, at which point, so they take off, and Dementis is like, what the fuck was all that about? But the great part about that whole scene is it very, very, with very little dialogue, very little anything, it demonstrates that these people, Dementis is used to people who are transactional and have wants and want to live. Whereas Immortan Joe has built up his Valhalla army. That they're not afraid of the death cult, which is great. And he just has no understanding of that. So he's like, okay, we can't take the Citadel. He's like, so we have to think of something else. I mean, I want it, but I can't just take it. And what they start doing is they start watching things. Because Dementis isn't stupid. So he's watching, and he sees the war rig that goes to Gastown. He's like, okay, that place is important. If we take that place over, then they have to deal with us. And they figure out a way to get into Gastown by basically, they stop the war rig, they put a couple of their people in, dressed as war boys, and then they kill some of them so that they actually think they're under attack. And they then when the war rig gets into Gastown, a bunch of their people come out of it, because you can hide people in it, as we see in Fury Road. So a bunch of their people come out, and they take over Gastown very quickly. And so then they cut off the Gastown guy's finger. They send it to the Immortan Joe, and they're like, hey, you either deal with us or we'll blow the place up. Which, of course, that's a bad thing. And Gastown's awesome looking. It's basically a big river of oil, and then Gastown itself is the refinery. But it's surrounded by a moat of just pure oil. It's great. It's a beautiful image. And so he's like, all right. And Immortan Joe says to everybody, okay, tell him to come here. We'll listen to what he has to say, then we'll kill them all. And so they show up. It's great. And so he shows up. He shows up, and he's like, oh, yeah, you can't kill me because I've rigged Gastown to blow, and only I know the combination to stop it. And so eventually what Immortan Joe figures out is, okay, I'm going to let this person stay in place for now so that I know where he is, and at some point I'll take back over. So basically, he's like, all right, we'll let you stay there, but I want her, meaning because he realizes that she's pure. She's not, there's nothing wrong with her. She's come from a place. He doesn't know about the green place, but he recognizes his fixation is as a wife, but he doesn't know.
Oh, yeah, because he's always looking, yeah.
Yes, because, and they show you one of the wives he has, basically you find out that, and I don't think they said this in Fury Road, but if the wife has 3 children and none of them are viable, they're no longer a wife. Because the organic mechanic delivers a baby and says, oh, 3rd strike, you're out. Sorry. And so they don't kill her, but she just becomes then a milker. So she's just providing the milk.
Yeah.
So now you find out a little bit about how that works. So that's his interest. And that explains why in Fury Road he never tried to go to the green place. He doesn't know what it is. He just sees her as a woman that he can impregnate. And they have this weird secondary thing where Rictus wants to rape her. He becomes fixated on her as a young girl, which is gross. Luckily, it never happens. And in
Rictus
fact,
is gross. I mean, that's.
Oh, I know he is, but it's just like I was like, oh God, please don't have this a thing where he's gonna like actually fucking rape her or something. Yeah. But she uses it to her advantage by creating a false scalp of her hair, so that then like she kind of waits for him to come get her because she knows what's gonna happen. And when he's stroking her hair because he's got this fixation with it, she basically breaks the false scalp out and escapes. And so she escapes. But instead of actually leaving the Citadel, she shaves her head and she imitates and she just fades into the War Boy camp because she recognizes that the Citadel has a lot of weaponry and vehicles and her real goal is to kill Dementis and everything else is secondary. So she manages to become a mute part of the War Boys, which logically falls apart if you think about it too long. Because why would Immortan Joe lose his youngest new wife, his prized wife, and suddenly doesn't recognize that? Like you would think that they would know who everybody is. But
I think the logic I can apply is simply that there are so many War Boys, and they are so interchangeable to, as evident early on, where he lets his enemy randomly pick one to die. He doesn't give a shit,
and that's fine.
If you look like a War Boy, you are practically invisible to him.
The only thing that we really should have gotten and did at least was one scene where it shows that they were trying to find her. There's never an indication they ever really look for her. That's the only thing that's kind of missing. It just suddenly cuts 2 years or whatever ahead. And now she's part of the crew. And she's sort of slowly working her way up. And then they build the first war rig, which is not the one that we see in Fury Road because this war rig gets destroyed. Or at least this version of it gets destroyed. But she is part of the initial war rig that they build to replace the one they were using before, which was blown up in the Gastown thing and everything else. So, and it was a far inferior one. This thing is beautiful. So they build it, and it is driven by Praetorian Jack, who is essentially Mad Max. For all intents and purposes, he's Max.
I love the name, Praetorian
Jack.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's great. So he becomes the driver, and Furiosa, still in some other, we don't even hear a name, whatever, is his second in command. And Praetorian Jack basically says that he had parents who used to be law enforcement, which is a reference back to the first Mad Max, the MFP. And so, again, he's dressed even like Mad Max. He's got the one big shoulder thing.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he's very Mad Max.
He's a stand-in for Max. But he treats...
But he's Mel Gibson. That's the thing. You know what I realized? This sounds to me like the Mel Gibson Mad Max, not the new Mad Max.
Yes.
That's like the grunting, angry animal that Tom Hardy plays.
No, he's very talky and very skilled.
Yeah, this is the Mel Gibson one.
Well, also, this guy dies. So basically, they're going on runs, and he gets a reputation as...
Who plays him?
A guy named Tom Burke, I believe is the actor's name, who apparently has only played scumbags before this and was delighted to be playing a character who wasn't a piece of shit. So that's nice.
Oh, that's very funny. Okay.
Yeah. So they're going back and forth, and they're doing well, and everything's going fine. And then there's a point where one of Dementis's, his like top... the guy who works for him, he reminded me of the Skull General from Willow. He's dressed all in black. He's got these big horns on, this black mask. He's cool looking as shit. I don't remember what his name is, but he's never been completely on board with Dementis. He doesn't agree with him, but he recognizes his power. But he apparently becomes sick of him and decides that he's going to try to take over the war rig and like grab it and take everything in it for himself. And so there's this huge action sequence, which is the main thing of the whole movie. It's incredible, where he launches this big assault on the war rig. And they manage to fight him off, but in the course of it, Furiosa's head covering comes off and she has long hair, at which point Jack immediately recognizes, oh, you're a woman, which, I guess no guys can have long hair, but sure. So he recognizes right away that, oh, she's been keeping a secret, whatever. And so she's like, let me off here. She puts a knife to him and says, let me out. I know you're going to turn me in or whatever. And so she jumps out of the vehicle, or he pushes her out. And then he stops the war rig and comes back and he's like, look. He's like, I don't give a shit. He's like, there's nowhere for you to go. Dementis is there. They're not going to take you in at Bullet Town, or you're going back to the Citadel. You stay with me, and you let me train you, and you do the same job you've been doing, and I will free you. I will get you out of here. And she's like, okay. Because she recognizes that he's right, that she really has nowhere to go. And so things go along, and she's training with him, and she's getting better, and there's a point where he says, okay, in 3 days, I'm going to get you out of here. You're free to go wherever you want. And interestingly, I was never clear on if things had continued like this, if she would have agreed or not. She seems somewhat kind of on the fence, because there's definitely something between them. It never, ever goes across the line into pure romance. But they clearly are connected. And I think had things worked out differently, they probably would have gone away together. That's where I think it was going. But then word comes in that Dementis has completely lost control of Gastown and it's in danger of like being completely righted and collapse. Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, Morton Joe is like, all right, you guys, on your next delivery, see what the fuck is going on over there. And so they pull in, and Gastown it's amazing that Dementis hasn't been strung up yet. Like everybody, there's hunger everywhere. Everybody's there's rioting, and Dementis is like, yeah, things have taken a turn. So I'm gonna need to meet with the leadership over there to try to salvage this, or I'm gonna blow Gastown up. That keeps being his thing. I'll blow Gastown up. It's like, it's almost a comedy in that, where he's like, and if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna blow Gastown up. I mean it. And so he's like, he manages to get Furiosa and Jack out, right? And so, because he's like, you're not going to get out without my help. And you're sort of like, why is he helping them? And what happens is they go back, and Morton Joe's like, okay, he meets with all the other heads, like the Bullet Town guy and everybody else. He's like, all right, here's what's going to happen. He's like, you guys take the war rig, go to Bullet Town, and fill it with every bullet and gun you have. And we're going to Gastown, and we're going to fucking kill them all. And we're going to take it back over. So Jack and Furiosa are like, okay. And they take a bunch of war boys, and they go to Bullet Town. And the minute they get in there, Jack is like, something's wrong. And what you realize is Dementis took over Bullet Town while the head was at the meeting with, he knew that they left. So he went in there and wiped everybody out. So now he has Bullet Town, and he basically shuts them in there, and they manage to barely escape. The war rig is destroyed, and Furiosa and Jack are on the run, and Dementis is infuriated by the fact he lost them, and he catches up with them, and Furiosa's got her arm out the window shooting at him, and he rams her, and the tire grabs her arm and like spins it around, and that's how her arm gets destroyed. It's fucking grungy when you see it. It's like, okay, yeah, that's not getting salvaged. And he shoots Jack. Jack's still alive, but he manages to flip their car, drags them out. He says, all right, string her up. He still doesn't know. He doesn't realize who she is. He's just pissed because then he goes on this rant where he says, you know what? I could have taken over all these camps. Everybody would have been great. And you two had to fuck it up. It's this amazing rant where he's just like, you guys ruined everything.
Even though the people in Gastown want to kill him.
But this is what people like people, okay. No. I don't think it's a front. No.
So
he's trying to shift blame. He's doing the whole, the Jews are the reason Germany's in trouble. Not me. I didn't do this.
Yeah. It's your fault. It's your fault. Yes.
Right. Yes. He's doing cult of personality shit, and it's working. So he's like, string her up and drag him until he's dead behind your motorcycles. And so they start to string her up by her gut arm. He's like, no. String her up by the broken arm. What are you doing? And they string her up by her fucked up arm, and they drag Jack to death. It's you don't necessarily know how long it is, but it's got to be 7 to 8 hours where they're just dragging him as Dementis' dogs are eating him. You don't actually see what he looks like at the end, but Furiosa has watched all of it up to a certain point, because Dementis is just kind of sitting on the front of the truck and he's just kind of eating like dates or something and drinking. He's like, oh, what these people have driven me to. And he's just drinking like probably water or booze, and he's just eating. And he's like, all right, I'm sure he's dead by now. And he goes back to look at Furiosa, and all there is half of her arm hanging, and she's escaped because she's cut her own arm off. And I think she's supposed to have chewed it off, which I guess nobody noticed. And then she's on a motorcycle with this fucked up arm, and she's driving away, and she manages to escape, and she gets close to the Citadel, at which point she collapses and gets dragged underground by what appear to be a bunch of cannibals. You don't really know, but there's all these, and you see there's some of the roving kind of people that he's dumping water on in Fury Road, just the unwashed masses, but they have these holes in the ground, and they're just filled with bodies, and you don't really know what they're doing because they're scraping the maggots off her arm, and they're like, no, just lay back. It'll be more peaceful this way. And she's like, fuck you, and she escapes. And she goes in, and it's just like the scene in Fury Road where they're bringing the car up on the platform, and they're kind of pushing people off. And she's like, no, I'm the Praetorian Furiosa. And they're like, what happened to you? And they bring her up, and she explains, Dementis has Gastown, he has Bullet Town, and he's going to come for the Citadel next because he's got everything else. And all the warlords are there, and they're all arguing, and like Rictus is like, we have to go, or no, sorry, Scrotus is like, we have to go get him now. We have to go and kill him. If we let him do anything else, he's going to come for us, and now he has stuff. If we take him by surprise now, we'll get him. And I want to say that the Bullet Farmer is saying, well, let's go and see if we can take back Bullet Town. Maybe we can just stop him there. And they're going back and forth, and they're all arguing, and Morton Joe kind of looks over at and then they see the smoke coming off of Gastown, and a lot of smoke. And one of them says he's going to detonate it. He must have set it on fire. He's going to blow it up. And Furiosa says to Joe, she's like, no, he's doing that so you'll go there, and then he's going to come here. That's what he's trying to draw you in. There's no way he would blow it up. It's worth too much to him. He's trying to draw you out. And Morton Joe looks at him and he's like, yeah, that sounds right. Let's make him think we're going there, and let's see what happens. And so they set up this thing where they're dragging stuff behind a couple of cars, so it makes this big cloud, big plume. So then Dementis is looking and says, yep, they're going to Gastown. I'm a genius. Bullet, they're going to the Bullet Farm. Gastown. I'm a genius. They're going to Gastown. They think I'm blowing it up. Ha, ha, ha. And so they make a run for the Citadel, at which point they realize that, no, they figured out what's going on. And then you see interstitial images of it, but basically then you hear the narrator, the history man, come back, and he says that all throughout history there have been wars. There was the 100 Years' War, there was the Civil War, World War I, II, and III, and he's like, the war that you're seeing here is the 40-day war of the wasteland. And all you see is the two sides blowing each other. It's just going on and on and on, but eventually it's just kind of doing like time jumps over some period of time, which of course is the 40 days. And at the end, the war boys have won. They have wiped out Dementis' people, and all that's left is Dementis, his court jester, and a couple of some hardcore people who are his lieutenants, and they're on the run. And basically, Furiosa's in the Citadel, and she realizes that Dementis has escaped, and she's like, I need a car. And I didn't realize right away who this was, but then I looked it up, and it is in fact Chumbucket from the video game is in the movie and gives her this wrecked car. And so she starts driving it to the front lines, and she gets there, and she's stopped by Scrotus, who says, we need the tires off your car. I'm going to go get him. And all along, at one point, she grabs Joe's arm and spins him around and says, if you find Dementis, he's mine. And Joe doesn't say anything. He just kind of looks at her and then walks off. So he doesn't say no or anything like that. But basically, Scrotus is at this point doesn't give a shit what Joe said or not. He's going to kill Dementis. So he's getting this car ready to go get him. And Furiosa kind of sticks by and waits a minute. And when Scrotus turns his back, she jumps in the car and takes off and goes after him. And at the beginning of the movie, her mother had given her a seed from the green place and said, no matter what, promise me you'll get back home, and gives her the seed as kind of this thing that she carries with her to remind her where she came from. Like, no matter what, this seed is from the green place. That's where you have to get back to. And so she's had it the whole time. And you see it at different points where she kind of takes it out, looks at it, puts it away. So she starts going after Dementus. And he's kind of trying to divert her, and it kind of temporarily works. But eventually she catches up to him when he has to stop to sleep. And so she gets him.
Oh, so this is a long hunt.
Yeah, so it's a long hunt, and she basically dismantles his bike so he can't leave. She takes away all of his food and water, and he comes out, and she manages to get the drop on him. And she knocks him out, and he wakes up, and he's chained. And he goes into this long speech. And this is one of those things where it's like almost the Joker's multiple speeches from Batman Begins, where you can either believe him or you can't, where he says, you can do whatever you want to me. It doesn't matter. What you're trying to do is inflict pain on me to get your family back, and it won't work. And the reason I know it won't work is it hasn't worked for me. My wife and daughter have never come back. I have killed people. I have hurt people. I'll keep doing it. It doesn't matter. You and I are the same thing. You think you can get them back. It's never going to happen because it's never happened to me. So it's like, you can do whatever you want to me because I've accepted it. I am a product of this world that we're in. So you do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter. You're never going to hear me beg. You're never going to hear me say, I'm sorry. I'm not. I am forged by this place. So are you. Like something, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but it's that type of thing.
Yeah, but I get the sentiment.
Right. So then she basically knocks him out. And the next thing we see then is we hear the history man saying, now depending on, some people will say that she took away his voice and shot him and left him to die. Other people will say that she tortured him and then let the desert take him, stuff like that. He's like, but I'll tell you what the truth is because she told me herself. She whispered it to me. He says, somewhere in the Citadel, high up in the cliffside, there's a tree unlike any other. And then we see Dementus like on the ground with roots all over him, and she's put the seed in his crotch, and a tree is growing out of his crotch, and he's basically a living plant that is being slowly rooted into the ground. And you see her come up, and she like picks a plant off of the tree, and
he's dead.
Yes, exactly. Well, okay, no, he's alive. No, he's alive. He's dying slowly. No, he's alive because he's being fed he's kept alive by the tree because its nutrients are seeping into him, but he's emaciated. Like it's some body double, or they digitally did something to Hemsworth. He doesn't look any good at all, but he's alive. He's still alive. And what they didn't show was that she had cut his tongue out so he can't talk. Apparently it was a cut scene, but that's where when he says she took his voice away, he had cut her tongue out, or she had cut his tongue out. And so then at the very, very end, we see what is, as far as I could tell, it's a lot of shadow, but it looks like they digitally put or altered her to look like, and they've changed her voice. So she sounds like Charlize Theron. So they got somebody who either sounds like her or something, and it looks like her. They've made her face look like Charlize Theron, and you see her getting the wives out, and she's loading them into the war rig, and the last shot is the last wife going into the bottom of the war rig, and the door shuts, and then it goes to credits. So it's literally ending before Fury Road. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's and years have passed because what's his face is a tree now, which obviously would take a while. So it's however many years later. Supposedly based on what she says in Fury Road, that she's been gone for 7,000 something days. That means 19 years. So this is however many years later. And the movie ends where she closes the door, and that's it. So
yeah,
I thought it was great.
At the facial CG work they must have done.
Well, okay. You mean the part where she looks like Charlize Theron?
Yeah.
It's so brief that honestly, I'm just
fascinated that they did it.
Well, because they have to make it into Fury Road. That's what they were doing. And they definitely did something to her voice because she sounds just like her. So I don't know if they actually got Charlize Theron to do any voice work. I don't think so, based on what I've read about the movie. I think they probably just digitally pitched her voice down or something. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And, the movie's great. It's not Fury Road. Fury Road does not take any time to. This is all the world building. That's what this is. This is all the backstory to Fury Road. So honestly, if this movie had come out and then Fury Road had come out, people would regale these both as masterpieces. I guarantee you. I without even thinking about it, people would say this movie is a masterpiece. I read that
Furiosa was a masterpiece.
Well, but what I mean is people are like, well, it's not as good as Fury Road, but it's really good. It's like if these had come out in reverse order, people would say, wow, he built this world up and then he gave us the perfect way to implement an action scene for a whole movie. But because it's being compared, it did a lot worse in the box office. It's seen as a failure.
It did do a lot worse, yeah.
It did. And part of that is because of when it came out. And so he had a plan for a third movie, and apparently that's not going to happen now. That's it.
Oh,
which would
no.
have been with Tom Hardy, and it would have been called The Wasteland. And it would have been another Max film.
Bitch.
Yeah.
I was waiting to hear that, and that sucks.
There's always the possibility. One of the reasons I was happy to pay $25 to watch it was I hope maybe it finds life on,
you hope that
home
it'll make enough money that they'll be like,
yes.
You know what?
Yeah.
Maybe we should make another one.
Yeah. That's what I'm really hoping, is because they said that based on what it cost, it would have to have made like 300 plus million to be considered profitable. And so as it is, it's lost almost 100 million. But the other thing is that those numbers, we don't know if those are real numbers. And if it does really well in home video and afterwards, then it might not matter. So
as of June 27th, 2024.
Yeah.
Mad Max has grossed $66.8 million in the U.S. and $102 million in other territories. Its total is $168.8 million. It is still considered a disappointment.
Yeah. Now that may change.
Yeah.
If it does really well, let's say rental wise and everything else, if they see, because this is the thing is, all those numbers are based on an antiquated way of looking at movies. Yeah.
I think what they're annoyed about is that Furiosa made all its money back, but it didn't make a profit. Right.
So it's at break even basically now, which is not.
Yeah, it broke even. They made back all the money they spent on it.
Well, that's a failure to studios. It has to make money.
God.
Has to make money. Now, that doesn't. I'm not saying that they've said it's. I mean, Tom Hardy apparently said it's not happening, but what does Tom Hardy actually know? We don't know. That doesn't mean that they may say, okay, George, if you want to make another one, you're gonna have to make it for $50 million, or $30 million. You're gonna have to make it for far less. Which,
God, yeah, I don't know if he could lure Tom Hardy into the desert. Tom Hardy does not have a good time making Fury.
Let me tell you something, and I like Tom Hardy, but who cares? Replace him.
It could be somebody else.
Who gives a shit? This is not like. I'm sure there were people who said, well, you can't have Mad Max without Mel Gibson. Well, yes, you could, and it worked. Who gives a fuck? Get rid of him. Get somebody with a lower price tag. Get the guy who played Praetorian Jack to come back. Who cares? We've had different people playing different characters. Jesus Christ, the toe cutter was a Morton Joe. So what? Who cares? So I don't necessarily know for sure that it's been completely said no, but it may not be what George Miller originally envisioned.
I'm glad that it at least made all its money back. It deserves it.
And it is I think it's a stellar flick. I mean, I would say, let's see. So of the 5 movies, because there's Mad Max, Road Warrior, Thunderdome, Fury Road, and this, right? That's the 5 we've got. Objectively, I would say it's better than the original and Beyond Thunderdome, even though I love Beyond Thunderdome as a total movie.
You love it because there's a weirdness to that movie.
There is, and Tina Turner's awesome. But this movie is better. Is it better than The Road Warrior? That's an interesting debate that I could have with somebody because...
Okay, hold on. If Road Warrior had the same amount of money as Furiosa, right?
Yeah.
Do you think Furiosa still would have been better? And I only say that because part of Road Warrior's problem is that it was made many years ago, and it was made on a very small budget.
Well, but there you get into an interesting kind of contemplation, because if he'd had more money, would it have been the same movie?
True. Very true.
because I do find that Road Warrior has some saggy bits.
Yeah.
However, I think that this movie needed to be 2.5 hours? No. You could probably trim a half hour off of this and tighten some things up. So I'm not going to say that I think it's better than Road Warrior. Do I think it's in the ballpark of it? Yeah. It doesn't. Listen, Fury Road is, I think, going to be, unless something really, really amazing happens, I think it's going to be looked at as George Miller's best film. Period. Because there's no fat on it. It knows exactly what it's doing. There is a lot more CG in this one. It didn't bother me, but it's very clear what it is. Like you can tell there's way more CG. Some people got really hung up on that. I didn't. Because one thing I will say about Fury Road, the one real thing that I don't like about it, if I could say anything, is it was shot for 3D, and there are parts where it's very obvious they're shooting for 3D.
Yeah.
Especially that end explosion where the fucking steering wheel comes at the screen. I hate that.
Yeah.
Because it's so clear what it's supposed to be doing. And it's like the Jaws or the Friday the 13th 3D of that type of thing, and it just sticks out. So you want to nitpick on CG here, I'll nitpick on 3D there. Is there less of it in that one? Yes. That's because there's less movie. But honestly, I think it's, as long as you're not trying to make it a comparison to Fury Road, as long as you can put that aside and view this as a lead up to it, because my wife immediately said, okay, now I want to watch Fury Road. And I'm like, I'm fine with that. That's what it does. It builds you up. That's what I mean about it's a shame.
And it goes right into it.
Literally.
Yeah.
Right into it. I mean, it's in that, it's right there. So that's what I mean is a lead up to watch these as double features. Oh, spectacular. Because it pumps you up. That middle scene, the attack on the war rig, is every bit as good as anything in Fury Road. But most of the movie's not concerned with being that. Most of it is world building, and here's where these characters come from. This is why they're doing the things they're doing. And amazingly, this is the most impressive part, is it didn't deflate Immortan Joe as a villain. I really thought, this is way too much. They're gonna try to humanize him somehow or make you sympathetic. Never. They're very smart where he barely ever speaks. People around him talk. And everything he does is a calculation for his own benefit, which is exactly what it should be. And it works beautifully. So it's great because you do get more of him, because he is a wonderful character. And it's further enhanced by the fact that they don't manage to ruin him somehow. It explains a lot of what you see in Fury Road. You get the backstory of it. And I do love the demonstration of why they're so faithful to him and why he has the position he has. Because in Fury Road, you just don't know. You sort of at times are going, well, all these people are mutants and dying. Why are they following this guy? Well, because he's way smarter and has set up a really good support system and knows what he's doing. So I really liked it. $25 is a rental. I'm not sorry I paid that.
You're not paying for a rental. You're posting money for another movie.
Not only that, but it's still cheaper than going to a theater. And I mean,
and you're not going to a theater. Yeah.
It was great for us because when my wife had to use the bathroom because she drank too much water, I could just hit pause, and she didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
I thought it was great. I thought it was exactly what I was expecting, which is a great George Miller film. So in that way, I wasn't surprised. Again, my only really concern point was the Immortan Joe stuff, and that was fine. It did not fumble. It did not overexpose the character to the point of diminishing what he is. So just on that, I'm like, okay, good. They dodged something that a lot of movies fumble. A lot of movies, when they get into a villain, they don't do it well.
We're going to humanize them, yeah.
Yeah, and they sort of, and like I said, the astonishing part is that they managed to get my wife to prefer a serial rapist and fanatical cult leader because the other cult of personality guy was worse. And it's like, that's great. That's great. Because she said, is it bad that I like Immortan Joe now more compared to him? And I'm like, no, I think that's the goal. Is it because there is a part where in this movie, if they didn't do that right, you're sitting there going, why would Furiosa go from one psycho to another? Well, because she realized she figured out what Joe's calculus was, and she knew how to beat it because it was one that didn't involve her directly. He saw her as property. Therefore, as soon as she was in the place of property, he kind of forgot about her. Dementis was fixated on her as a daughter surrogate. And so she understood that it was going to be harder to get away from him than to get away from Joe, who just saw her as another breeder. And that, again, nobody says that. She doesn't explain that to somebody, but you understand this is why Furiosa's smart. Like, you see multiple times how intelligent and resourceful she is. All in visual, because she's almost never talking. Again, something most films can't manage. Somebody will be like, wow, she's really smart. It's amazing how smart she is. She'll be like, well, I figured out 5 steps before you did. Ha ha ha. Because I played chess as a child against my dad. And I knew how to always get the knight with the bishop. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like 15 minutes of exposition where a character has to either explain why somebody else is smart or explain why they're smart. No. All visual in this. All done by showing actions. Like that war rig sequence, that central fight. It's all her starting as more or less just somebody who's hanging out at the bottom of the rig to look for repairs. And then when the main repair guy gets wiped out, she immediately can step in and she has an understanding of how everything works and she repairs the war rig. And when Jack realizes that, that's one of the reasons why when he sees that she's a woman, he's like, I don't care. You know what you're doing. You saved this fucking thing. Let's go. We're done. I don't care what you did. So all that is done with no words. No communication of anything outside of actions. That's not very common. So, like I said, there's multiple reasons why I was very happy with this.
I'm happy that it's as good as I had read that it was.
You will enjoy it when you see it, whenever that is.
Good.
I will be buying this as soon as it's out in physical, which is August, I think, 14th, I want to say. So I've already pre-ordered it, so I will have a 4K version of it. Apparently, he's going to do the black and white thing with this one, too. So, all right.
I'll be curious if that makes much of a difference.
I think it might, because it will deaden the CG-ness. For some people, the black and white will make the CG recede. It won't be as obvious. And so I think for some people, I didn't mind it, but you will see more of it. You clearly can tell when there's more CG used. I don't think it's a problem. It's also because this movie's a lot bigger than the last one was. Last one was very, very focused and specific. This is literally they're showing you each of the farms, and it says the first fortress of the wasteland, the second fortress of the wasteland, the third fortress of the, and you get these huge, broad shots of them so you can see them, and they all have these distinctive looks, which is great because they all have personalities. The Citadel is that tall, rocky fortress with the green on top. Gastown is this very looks like RoboCop factory surrounded by a moat, this giant round lake of oil. And then the Bullet Farm is a quarry with all these big, heavy earth, because, they're making munitions out of all this, this core material. So they're digging into the earth, and it's a big spiral going down. It's awesome. It's all, and big smokestacks where they're like crafting all the gunpowder and everything. Magnificent. Visually, it's a feast. It's great. So I think they used it well. And that's it.
Well,
so
I'll let you know when I see it.
Yeah. So Furiosa is great. And that's it. That's all we have to say for this week. So have a wonderful weekend, whatever you choose to watch. And if you haven't seen Sneakers, it's $4. Well worth renting for $4 everywhere. So watch that. Just in case you want a cheaper alternative. I don't want to leave you with only the $25 option. And if you want something for free, Yes, Madam is available everywhere. The only thing I'll say about that is it's dubbed in English. So some people that's going to be good, but it's not the greatest dub in the world. So whatever. You're watching that from the action sequences anyway. So I've given you options here. Free, $4, $25. You pick whatever you want. Whatever you choose. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again next week. Visit OzoneNightmare.com to subscribe to new episodes, browse through our back catalog, or to find links to support the show. Follow @OzoneNightmare on Twitter for the latest episode postings and other show information. If 280 characters just isn't enough, you can always email us, theozonenightmare@gmail.com. The opening theme for the show is provided by Heartbeat Hero. The closing theme is provided by Ogre. Please visit and support these artists using the links in the show notes for each episode.